All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger with you, Dan Coach Milio along, Ryan Smith to join in shortly. We invited Vish Kumaran, and Vish, we'll see if Vish is going to join us as well. I know he's got a bunch of things going on tonight. Hopefully he's got a little time. He can join us as well. Man, that was ugly. Give the band the rest of the day off.
59 degrees Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, that was ugly. That was as ugly a football game as I can remember watching in a long, long time. And the fact that it happened in a championship game. Usually, I thought there was going to be one of two feelings tonight. I really did. I thought it was going to be this feeling that you get of elation that you've climbed this mountain, you beat a really good Eagles team in Philly to advance to the Super Bowl, and there was going to be this incredible elation, or there was going to be this loud thud of a statement, which sometimes you get in games like this from the other team, that they're way better than you, and you're just not on their level yet. And instead, we don't get either of those. We don't get the elation. And I definitely didn't leave this game feeling like, oh, the Eagles and Howie Roseman have built a team that, will never be able to beat. And I really kind of believe that if Brock Purdy had been healthy, the Niners probably win today's game. But he took a terrible hit to his throwing elbow. They were saying there was some kind of nerve injury there. Who knows? I don't know the details of it. Hassan Reddick has had an incredibly productive year. At the end of the day, it's just the 49ers, once Purdy went out, they were done. And then, Philly, the Niners had nothing but a run game. And, the Niners didn't have anything other than a run game. And Philly dominated the time of possession, 70 plays to 45 plays, 37 minutes to 22 minutes. So, there's that aspect of the game. That was a key. Then you look at the penalties. Niners had 11 penalties, 6 in the first half. And we talked about this as a factor. It's like, would they play undisciplined? Would they come unglued? Sure enough, they did. They lost their composure in the second half of this game. Then you're -3 in turnovers. What can you say about that? It's just, then you get a touchdown early that Philly scores that shouldn't have been a touchdown. It should have been a turnover on downs with you getting the ball going the other way. And instead they get a touchdown out of it. So, I don't know. Anytime the season comes to an end, it's always tough. I will say this though. I was driving around listening to a little bit of 95.7 The Game's post game, and the guys, Alan Stiles and Kyle Madsen, were on there, and those guys do a nice job. But some of these callers are just like attacking Brock Purdy, saying that, he was a flash in the pan. He was lucky. He was this. He got hurt. All right. He got hurt, but we're talking about a rookie quarterback who played the position this year about as well as we've seen the position played by a rookie, maybe ever. So come on, let's hold it on the Brock Purdy criticism. As far as the Kyle Shanahan criticism, I can't really go there either. Once Purdy went out, you're on Josh Johnson. Maybe they should have had a more, established or a more representative fourth string quarterback. But come on, how many in football, if you get to your fourth string quarterback, it's okay to say you're done, at that point. I thought McCaffrey was incredible in this game, 15 carries, 84 yards. He was terrific, but it's just, what can you say? The 49ers, 3 turnovers, you're -3 in turnovers. You commit a ton of penalties. You don't get to the quarterback. He only 1 sack, only 2 hits on the quarterback. The Eagles had 3 sacks and 7 hits on Niner quarterbacks. So, that was really what stood out to me. I mean, you say, are the Niners not good enough? Well, they weren't good enough today. I think this is, Brock Purdy, these weapons. I think all they really need, Danny, on offense at least, is a real commitment to go find a couple of really good linemen to add to this mix. I mean, they got a bunch of weapons. They got the quarterback of the future, and they have two of them if you want to keep Trey Lance. Now it's on offense at least. All I really see is just you're probably going to lose McGlinchey in free agency. You may lose Brendel as well. Go out there and in free agency and or the draft, go find a couple of big, tough offensive linemen and keep Brock Purdy clean. Because if you keep him clean, he's going to complete a high percentage and you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. I mean, I think they do need to make sure they bring back the nucleus of the team. This is why you don't, crown next year's quarterback during the season. Anything can happen. I mean, there's possibilities he's may not bounce back as effectively as he was. He may need surgery on that arm. You don't know. It could be nerve damage. I don't think they're trading Trey simply because it's a $10 million cap hit if they trade him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go after, an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady at this point. I mean, Brock's played great, but it's still, and you can't fault him at all today. This was an injury, and I do think they probably would have won because that defense was stout today.
You'd rather go to Brady than come roll it back with Purdy they're not going to Lance.
I'd rather not see Brady because I think Brady's best days are over, and I don't think he has much left. I think he would perform better in the Niners offense than he did at Tampa Bay simply because Tampa Bay had hardly any weapons. But I would say that, Aaron Rodgers is going to be available. It depends on how sold they are on Trey. I think it's probably going to be a quarterback competition with Trey and Purdy because
maybe.
And the best man will win. Nothing wrong with having two solid quarterbacks either. I'm hopeful that Purdy is able to bounce back and recover and be stronger than he was. But today was just, it's an unfortunate situation. And I think, and I was saying this 6-8 weeks ago, thinking the NFL, and I think I even brought it up on this, one of our post games or something. Why does the NFL not allow for a emergency quarterback? I mean, you're in the especially in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I would love to see this. What happened today in the Super Bowl?
What are you envisioning, Dan? I mean, are you talking about what on game day you have another quarterback?
Exactly. So that is not active, but only if the two previous quarterbacks are ruled out of the game. Because
interesting.
If this happens in the Super Bowl, I mean, it would be hilarious. I think the NFL deserves for it to happen in the Super Bowl.
Well, kill the game.
It did. It was unwatchable.
It was a terrible game to watch.
I mean, I almost hope it would happen someday in the Super Bowl because you know what? The NFL is cheap, and they should allow for a third emergency quarterback to have a better product. Why would you limit it to 48 guys to suit up? Go ahead, 48 guys, but the 49th man has to be a third quarterback, and he's allowed to only come in if the other two.
I mean, just for the quality of the product.
Exactly. I agree. It's so stupid.
Let me get a couple super chats and get these. Eloy says, we are an irrelevant team without Brock Purdy. I like that. See, Mr. Irrelevant. See that? Kalba Kamiga says, you knew Philly had the best pass rush. If you call for slow developing pass plays like play action, you need someone other than the backup tight end to block their best pass rusher. Frustrated. Yeah.
Hey, Larry, can you block some of those chats in there? I can't get to them.
We'll get to
the guy who has no life is back in.
We'll get to it. We roll down here. Oh, we got this one. The right side of our offensive line is non-existent. McGlinchey's a free agent at the end of the year. Niners probably looking for an offensive lineman on the right side. Dustin the Gale, $1.99. Most frustrating football game I've ever watched. Dustin the Gale, I am with you. This was the most frustrating football game of all time. It really was. It was the game that I'm looking forward to watching again the least easily in years. GTC Reels. It was a good season. Gotta hope for the best for Brock, but bolster the O-line and draft for depth. The window is still open. I I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go doom and gloom unless you guys heard something, that you think is substantiated. It's one hit to the arm. I mean, I know what you're saying though. It's a quarterback and an arm and maybe a surgery. So who knows? But I don't know. To me, there's Brock Purdy doesn't have arm strength to lose. That's for sure. But his greatness is not about his arm strength for sure. Wesley Brooks says, "Thank you, Krueger, for this. This is good therapy. The game was compromised when Brock Purdy got hurt. It was just bad luck. Nothing Kyle can do. Go Niners." Yeah, I don't. There will be people, Danny. You know it because we both know the kind of the nature of the criticism, but do you find there's anything to be critical about Kyle or about Kyle Shanahan? Do you see it? Is there something that you can blame Shanahan for in this thing?
No, not really. I don't. There's nothing you can do when both quarterbacks are down. I did see somebody and I responded to it. They pointed out that they were getting on Kyle. They say he mismanaged the end of the first half. With the turnover. Yeah. Then I replied, you would have been as critical if he would have been conservative and then turned the ball back over to the Eagles and they would have went down and scored. He got the first down on the first play, 11, 12-yard gain. They're out near the 40-yard line, their own 40. You got to go for the touchdown. You had a minute and a half to go with all 3 timeouts. Nothing wrong with that. He just fumbled. Touchdown Cincinnati. Wow. Beautiful pass and catch by T. Higgins.
Saw that. Cincinnati now tied, right? Tied ball game unless they go for 2.
I went in the pro live betting and in live betting.
I hope Cincinnati wins.
Me too.
I think the winner.
To win
this is the real Super Bowl right here.
Yeah, I'll tell you now. It is for me. I mean, but getting back to Kyle, the only thing that you could have.
What do you think of Vicky? Vicky says Kyle Shannon's a choke artist. Terrible hit to Purdy. Compliments of Kyle asking Croft to block Reddick.
That's his job. Croft's job's he's got to get there. He didn't get there.
They need a better tight end, I think is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle was out. It was a 2 tight end set. Kittle was out on a pass play. It would have been a big play if he didn't get hit. Kyle said so in the post-game presser that it would have been a big play. But that's a tough play for any tight end to block, but he's got to get at least a hit on him, and he just got by him. But the question I have is this:
Danny, your mics might be a little loud.
Oh, is it loud?
Or maybe just back away just a little bit.
Back away. Yeah, I'm holding it a little closer.
A little closer.
What I would say was this: is I think Kyle should have at the very least, if he didn't want to waste his challenge, called timeout on the 4th down play, Devontae Smith. And in my view, if you watch the replay, Hufanga's got a perfect angle looking at the ball on the ground. Why isn't he emphatically jumping up and down, waving incomplete, or throw the flag? He's got to be there. I'll tell you what, if there was Ronnie Lott, a true veteran.
You thought he had a good eyeball on it? I know he was in the area, but
he should have had an eyeball on it unless he wasn't looking. He was right in front of him.
Well, I don't know.
I think
it's just one of those things, Dan, that you wouldn't capture unless you were on TV.
I mean, it was close. I mean, I videotaped the.
I mean, that's a hard thing to criticize Hufanga about. But
he may not. How about this? Defense, he may not have seen it if he wasn't looking. But
how about this? In a game of this magnitude, Danny? How about can we at least exhaust all the angles we have before we move on to the very next sequence? I mean, at least if you're going to have this this multi-billion-dollar industry and everything's on the level, and you want to give everybody a chance of fairness and this and that, and you're going to have the challenge ability, look at how kind of how variable it is as far as what you're looking at. Kyle Shanahan, I didn't see the angle that showed the ball coming out until the next play had already been run and there was nothing that could be done. I feel like the 49ers might have, kind of got screwed in that situation. Like maybe they didn't show all the angles right away.
Oh, they didn't.
So what are we talking about? At the end of the day, it's like, all I would have said is, I guess one note for the future is if you're in that situation and you think there's any chance and you see the other team trying to speed up and go fast, just throw the challenge right there.
But that's exactly right. When Devontae was going like this, meaning, go to the line, that's your automatic take right there. Hey,
throw the challenge.
Why would he be even saying that if he knows he caught the ball? He didn't.
Well, some teams go in and out of tempo and this and that to try to screw.
Yeah, but not the wide receiver.
But yeah, you have to throw the challenge flag there. But it's 2020 hindsight. That's the other thing that sucks about this game. There's a lot of interesting angles, but once Purdy went out and you're going to Josh Johnson, really nice guy, Bay Area kid. He was horrible.
Yeah. Somewhere in the chat I read was pointed out to me that Adam Schefter is reporting that Purdy has a UCL injury, could require Tommy John surgery, which would mean he's out for next year if that's the case.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The Rams last year, the Eagles this year have proven that we have to build a super team to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. Well, Niners had a pretty good team. There's no question.
If that's true about Purdy, is Jimmy back again? I mean, Jimmy can't leave.
Yeah. Bring Jimmy back. Now he was keeping the seat warm for Trey. Now he's keeping the seat warm for Brock. I don't know. What an amazing string of events. It reminds me of the Bowman injury in the Seattle game where, he was basically never the same after that. I hope that's not the case. Mario says Josh Johnson isn't an NFL quarterback. I don't care what you tell me. Well, there's just no doubt about that. I mean, and that, that's another one. It's like all these roster spots matter. It's, I don't know. I don't want to be critical of Josh Johnson. He's a really good guy, but I mean, I guess there's a lot of different ways to look at it. One, you're only as good as the next guy up. So always make every guy in your roster a potential starter caliber player. On the other hand, if you're on your fourth quarterback, maybe it's time to just say it ain't our year kind of a thing. 49er George says, before the season, the two questions were quarterback and O-line. That's what hurt us in the end. Great job all year, Larry. Thank you, 49er George. Appreciate that.
I did think the Niners, I mean, even when it was 21-7 and they're coming out after start the second half, and Johnson had completed a pass. They had the ball near midfield when he got sacked and got the concussion. But I was thinking to myself, if they could come down and drive and score a TD, they're back in the game with this defense. Just a turnover could happen.
Yeah. The defense was holding.
I mean, they only had 121 yards in the air, Philadelphia, today. They didn't, do much on them. They had a couple of runs, but I really think that the Niners, again, we go back to the quarterback situation, having a quarterback available. And like you said, it was such an, I didn't even really get that upset today. Like you said, it was kind of like, you're not upset because they just blew it. You're not super excited because they won the game. It was just like, oh, what a dud. I mean, it's like, talk about playing with two hands behind your back. I mean,
it's just, okay, so when they lost to the Cowboys in 92, it was, man, you blew this opportunity. You had this awesome team. You were the better team. You had the game at home. You blew it. When they lost in 93, it was like, oh, the Cowboys are now officially better than you. And last year was not an accident, and you better reassess. Then they win in 94 with a dream team of stars, the Niners do. Cowboys come back and win in 95. Niners never really ever got to that point ever again. That was the decline of their dynasty. But it was deeply personal. I mean, like at the end of most of those years, when you lost, you felt like, you know what, this team is a monster. I don't look at Philly, despite the fact they've got great talent and they got a couple number ones, and Roseman has done a good job. I don't look at them and go, oh, dynasty, they're on such a different level. And wow, we really saw a whole nother level of football. The 49ers lost, but the 49ers faced adversity in every way imaginable in this game. They lose their quarterback. I mean, they lose they lose their fourth quarterback. They have a quarterback. They have to go to basically a running back at quarterback, or a quarterback who can't throw. So that right there is enough to get you beat. Then, the penalties. I mean, the Fonga pushing a guy out of bounds, Greenlaw, the face mask. I mean, lots of undisciplined penalties.
The punt, it was 21-7, and they were getting the ball back.
The punt,
with plenty of time left.
JP Mason, though, I thought that was a shitty call.
He got pushed.
I thought that was a really bad call, though, because he just got kind of caught up in that thing. It wasn't. There was a play against Dallas with Wishnowsky where he got taken out, and they hit one of his legs, and there was no penalty there. It was basically the same kind of play. So I don't know. That one I didn't like. Shanahan lost his marbles on that one and yelling at the officials. But, overall, between the penalties, the turnovers, the injuries, it's just like, this game does not, I don't leave today thinking, man, the Niners aren't as good as the Eagles. I think the Niners are as good as any of these teams that are still left playing. But it just didn't happen. And today, you knew there would be some adversity on the road. I think the one thing that also has to be stated is that teams fight and claw and battle in the regular season. And what do they battle for? They battle to have today's game at home. Right. And Kansas City's at home. It helps them at Arrowhead. Philly was at home. It helped them there. That's why it means so much. Only one team gets the bye now. Only one team, can host that championship game at home or have home field throughout the playoffs. And the two teams that are probably going to wind up going. Now we'll see. Maybe Cincinnati, it's a 13-13 game with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So who knows how that's going to go. I wouldn't want to bet against Mahomes or Burrow, but obviously somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to lose. But the 49ers have a bunch of picks. They'll re-sign a bunch of guys. They'll have a terrific roster again. Hopefully what Danny's talking about with this elbow thing is just worst case scenario, and he won't need the surgery, and it will, Brock will be able to play next year. Because I really do think he's their quarterback going forward. But what's going to happen with Brady? What's going to happen with Trey Lance? What's going to happen with, several free agents? All stuff that we're going to cover here in the days and weeks ahead. Mario says 49ers need a second bona fide edge rusher. If Brock needs Tommy John, Brady is a possibility. 49ers need a second playmaking tight end. I'll tell you what would be interesting to me, just to address kind of all of these thoughts all at once. I would, if I could get Tennessee to give me their first round pick for Trey Lance, I would love to see the 49ers draft Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. And if they want to bring in Tom Brady for next year, if Brock is out for next year, that might work. And then you have Brock and Brady and Michael Mayer, and you move Trey on to a new home. You're covered for next year. You're probably covered into the future. And you're taking a great step in towards, making your roster that much better. They don't need a lot offensively, as I said. A second awesome tight end would be incredible. A couple offensive linemen, another pass rusher, a number one corner. They have some needs, but it's not a ton. David Baker says, I agree. Beef up the O-line. Watch the sparks fly. Yeah, you got to beef up that O-line for sure.
They got Jalen Moore that says as
they got Zakel.
And Zakel and Jason Poe will probably be
Jason Poe, yeah. These guys will all progress, you would think. BP says, tired of our string of bad luck. Please just bring Brady, Rodgers, and get one. We have an experienced Super Bowl roster, but not an experienced quarterback. Window may close. I
Yeah,
hear
and
you.
I tend to agree with that. I do think you need I mean, Purdy's great, but how long? I mean, I shouldn't say he's great. He did great. I just don't know how long he can sustain that as the league gets more and more film on him. In Kyle's offense, he has a chance to execute it well, like he was doing. It's a shame that what happened today, because what was that? His second pass it. I mean, he completed the one over to
Two.
Kittle.
He completed two.
Okay, he completed two. They were driving, and then boom.
Oh, it
Yeah.
wasn't a pass, Danny. It was a fumble. That was the bad part.
Well, yeah, it was a fumble. Yeah, I mean, he was actually 4 for 4. I mean, I heard them say somewhere on the Cincinnati game, what would have told you that Purdy would start the game and finish the game and not have an incompletion, you would think that the Niners would have won. But he did. He went 4 for 4, started the game, finished the game, and nothing.
Eric
I mean,
Emler makes a donation. Thank you, Eric. I disagree with Jason here. He says you can blame Shanahan for bad preparation. Really? Who was poorly prepared?
yeah. Why did
We
people
never
want
got to see. Let's just be honest here. As soon as Brock went out, the game plan changed.
right?
So the game was at that point. It was like, what, you lost Brock? I mean, So I don't know. I stopped really evaluating everything after Brock went out. Let's bring Big Mac Sports into the mix here. We had him with us the other night. Hey, Big Mac, say hi to Danny.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
What a game, huh?
Oh,
Jeez.
it's terrible.
Yeah, I agree. And I was just with you on that when you said that just right after Brock got hurt. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of like Michael Jordan going into retirement for 2 seasons, and the Bulls couldn't do anything, even though they had Pippen still, right?
I mean, there's always going to be the blame game. When things don't go well in football, there'll always be somebody to blame. But I think there was an awful lot of good things that came out of this season. I do agree with G Code Travels Vlog, who says blame Kyle for having Tyler Croft block number 7. But are you blaming Tyler Croft for not being better, or he's a veteran tight end who's been around the league. It's not like he's the worst player in the league or anything, or the 49ers are some embarrassment for having him. They may have asked a backup player to do too much, but isn't that more of just the limitations of their roster than, I don't know. I don't know if I blame Shanahan for using his roster and for some of those guys not coming through.
Didn't he just miss that whole block?
He missed it. Yeah,
He missed it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like
Reddick's fast.
He was not prepared for a fast guy like that coming off the edge.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was just one of those things that happens. But the turnover situation held true all year long. 20 games, Niners were either on even or positive in the turnover. Were 15-0, and they were 0-5 when they were negative.
Yeah.
So today, that held up because they were -2 today?
-3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
It was the fumble, and it was the 2 fumbles.
It was 3 fumbles because Debo had one at the end too.
Yeah.
Brock had one. Brock, Josh Johnson, and Debo.
Okay.
All
I forgot the Debo one. That was just like the game was so over.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, I think the biggest.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, obviously the big turnover was the first one to Purdy, but the one that with Josh Johnson just dropping the snap.
Awful. That's not just he dropped it, then he had his hands on it, and it's like, what? He couldn't corral
Yeah, he just needed to be more aggressive in getting that ball. He needed to jump and dive for that ball and corral it, because that was, the play was over, obviously, just get the ball and live to see another down. But when that happened, that was really the ball game, because at 21-7, I mean, had they gone into halftime down 14-7 and with the ball back?
Oh yeah, it's anybody's game.
Exactly.
But once again, and I know that it wasn't anybody's game because Josh Johnson hadn't played. He really was just there because he was local. He was probably cheap. He's, they weren't really expecting him to play.
I don't
Right.
think
So,
anybody was.
yeah. So once I saw him in there, I was like, and nothing personal against Josh. He's a good dude. But, I mean, they went 3 deep, it's like, and he was the 4th guy and he came in late, and it's just, and he made a couple plays, but then, couldn't he couldn't get plays called on time. They had 3 delay of game penalties. I mean, suddenly just things started bogging down. It's amazing when you change the quarterback, how much that changes football, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could take a point guard and take Steph Curry off the floor and put on Ty Jerome, and it's going to change the game. Don't get me wrong. But it's not going to be like a totally different game where now Ty Jerome's getting picked in the backcourt and, throwing balls into the 7th row every other time down the floor. Some quarterbacks, I mean, the difference is staggering between, how they see the field and, how they run the team. So, man, that was a huge step backward. And I credit Shanahan. He tried every run he could think of, but there was no way to do it. There was no way to do it. I actually thought Christian McCaffrey just showed just a awesome, incredible side.
He's down. You got to call that.
I just thought McCaffrey was tremendous. What do you guys think of McCaffrey?
Oh, unbelievable. That touchdown run, he broke the tackle.
Runs.
Yeah, he broke one tackle in the backfield and then bowled over the guy with his shoulders. And when that happened, I thought, hey, game on. This defense can hold them. And, Philadelphia just got all the breaks. And the Niners made some bonehead mistakes on defense, penalties. But I really thought the 3rd down call against Jimmy Ward for pass interference was very ticky-tack.
Yeah,
he spun him within the 5 yards. It was like, you're going to call that. I actually thought, Larry, when they made that call, I thought maybe there is something to Vegas's statement that we just can't have the Niners win this thing or it's going to be bad for us. It just looked like, oh my goodness, they're going to call that.
Eagles are favored to beat either of these teams in the Super Bowl. And that's so funny because I think I would take either of these teams over the Eagles in the Super Bowl and will.
Touchdown,
I think
Kansas City.
Either one of them will beat them.
Don't you think? I mean, Kansas City and the Eagles, according to the numbers that I have here, Eagles would be a favorite over both Kansas City and Cincinnati.
Interesting.
It would be, this is the numbers. It would be Bengals. If it had been Bengals Niners, it would have been a pick 'em. Bengals Eagles will be Eagles minus 1.5. Chiefs Niners was going to be a pick 'em, and Chiefs Eagles would be Eagles minus 1.5.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see as we kind of learned today. With Purdy going down, you never know what's going to happen in a game that could change the odds.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Hey, going back to that Croft, why was he in so early? That's kind of like, why did he come in so early in the game?
Well, it was for a specific play. It was a 2 tight end set, and they were
2 tight end set. Well, he was inactive, right?
Oh.
Yeah, right. And they were going to go down deep. That was going to be a deep ball crossing pattern. It was probably going to pick up 30, 40 yards, maybe even a score, because they just needed to chip them, and they missed them.
Okay.
Well, I do think that's an area they can upgrade this roster. I mean, they got some decent guys. Warner's a nice blocker. Dwelly's a nice receiver. Croft is a little combination of both, but they could use another stellar player, either a really strong inline blocker or somebody who could really challenge Kittle for number one tight end, ranking. I mean, they could because the way teams use that double tight end set now, it's really vital that you have two good tight ends. G Code Travels Vlog says Jed York needs to take advice from Joe Lacob and Eddie D and spend money on free agents.
Well,
I
they
don't know.
did. They did a lot of free agents this year. They brought in a lot of guys for special teams. They brought in Oren Burke. They brought in Ray McLeod. They brought in
Charvarius is their big
Various
signing.
Ward. I mean, all their signings contributed big time this year. So I don't think, and with the cap, you can't just go bring in anybody you want. I mean, you can't, bring in these high priced free agents. And what are you going to do with Debo, at that point?
I mean, it's just easy to say, get this guy, get that guy.
Right.
In a cap sport, you got to make tough decisions, as we know.
Who was the tight end, Larry, that got hurt? That was the former wide receiver, got hurt in training camp for the Niners. He was going to make the team.
Jerry Rice's nephew, the former Eagle from Vanderbilt. Jenkins?
No, it wasn't Jenkins. It was a
Jordan something.
Yeah.
What was his last name?
Gosh, but he was a pretty good receiver at one point.
Jordan
Matthews.
Jordan Matthews.
He beefed
he
up.
looked great in camp, guys. I mean, in camp, he was running down the field. Trey Lance was hitting him down the field. He was looking like he was going to have a really nice year.
Yeah.
At like 240 pounds too. He had put on some weight.
Yeah, no, he would have been perfect for the Niners because he's a receiving tight end with speed, and that's kind of what they're missing, because Croft and Dwelly and even Warner, they're not real super, speedy type guys, and Warner's more of a blocking tight end, and so I don't know, was he active today, Warner, or?
No, Warner was active, yes.
See, that play would have, to me, he would have been the better guy than Croft to be out there, because he's really good blocker.
I mean, somebody could have gotten dinged up. It might have been that. Or, I know they like Croft as a receiver. Matt Wright says fans trying to blame Kyle for losing when he had Josh Johnson at quarterback need to have their head examined. He's not a miracle worker. Johnson's a bona fide scrub. Cap would have been a better option. I mean, there's no doubt Cap would have been a better option. But, we all know that that's never happening. Mark Graves says Tommy John for Purdy equals Tom Brady coming to the Niners.
That's a possibility.
It does really make it look like that would be a very high likelihood deal.
Would that be the option that you guys would want?
I mean, I would for 1 year, and he wants to go somewhere for a year, maybe two at most. You need somebody for a year. I think it's a perfect marriage, unless you prefer to keep Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I would prefer, if I could, if I had the choice, I'd take Rodgers over Brady, just because.
But Rodgers is going to cost a lot of draft choices.
Well, yeah, he's going to cost a lot of.
And they just traded a bunch of draft choices for Trey, so. I'm interested to see.
But Brady's a free agent, so that's a strong. I would think it's a strong possibility.
Yeah, because Brady wants to play with the Niners. I mean, everybody knows that.
Yeah,
even Gresh was talking about that on CBS Sports Radio, the other day. That it's kind of well known in New England that Brady wants to finish with the Niners.
I even think if Brock didn't get hurt, there was a possibility if they lost the game today that they might look at Brady. But now with him possibly, being out for the season, if this report is true, you definitely have to look at Brady, because he's a free agent. He might sign a cap-friendly deal, and
I mean, like the going rate for quarterbacks is whatever it is, $40 million right now.
Well, yeah, 30 plus. Yeah.
I think you might be able to get him for, between between 18 and 25.
Right. And that's what Jimmy was basically going to be around that 15 to 20 mark had he stayed with the team and met his performance goals. It would have cost the Niners. So I think with Jimmy gone, if that's the case, if he doesn't come back, you might look at a Brady, because I think Brady would be way better than he was this year. Number one, he'd be super motivated to play on such a team with great weapons, be home. The second thing is his personal life was a shambles this year, had to have some kind of effect on his psyche every day. If that'll be a year behind him, he could focus, look at finishing his career with his childhood team. To me, that would be an awesome move.
I would love it even if Brock were going to come back, let's say in September. You know what I mean? I think it would still be a good move. Now you tell Brock, hey, you know what? We don't want to rush you. This is your throwing arm. This is your career. And then you just see play it out. And then you go to camp next year and you've got, or you get into the season next year, you have Tom Brady and Brock Purdy. Maybe figure out what you're going to do in the draft. They don't have a lot of needs. They have a very deep roster. Lauren Klein says, how can a 15-year vet not snap the ball on time? What is she referring to?
Josh Johnson.
Oh, it's not that he didn't snap it. He just couldn't catch it, which was
Is that
like
the play she's talking about, or is she talking about the delay of games?
I think she's talking about the delay of games. That's what she's.
Yeah, the delay of games.
Oh, I get you. The delay.
A lot of it has to do with was he couldn't hear the plays, and the fact that time clock's running down.
It's those things though that you take for granted when you have a quarterback in there that's managing all of it, right? When did the Niners have clock management issues during Brock's run until today? Never happened. Never happened. Why? Because today's problems with the clock had nothing to do with him. So it's Josh Johnson's got to take responsibility for that. Eric Emler says, blame Shanahan for Josh Johnson as the backup quarterback. It's Lynch's job too. 49er fan 0223. I don't mind losing if they outplayed us and the better team, and we're the better team today. But this one wasn't even a game. I feel for Purdy. I hope he's okay moving forward. I agree. I agree with 49er fan. If you get outplayed and you're looking across the field and you're like, oh my God, this team's on a level that we need to get to, and they're setting a new standard, kind of like the Cowboys in the early 90s. You tip your cap and you go rebuild your team. But this was like, I kind of felt like after watching this game that the 49ers kind of were the better team and had the better roster and maybe would have won the game. I know it would have been absolutely a battle all the way to the end if they had had Purdy, because Purdy was going to make plays here.
I think they would have won.
Yeah, I tend to think they would have won as well.
Our defense played really great throughout the whole game.
Yeah, they stepped up. Defense stepped up.
Except for the flags and the personal fouls and things like that, because they lost their cool. And I talked about that earlier this week, is they just have to play a clean game to get through this one, and it didn't happen. But they played a really good. Our secondary played lights out. They did a really good job. Hufanga, that one flag on Hufanga, I watched that replay over.
The push out of bounds?
Yeah, well, he was actually held before that, and through frustration, he didn't keep his head, and I messaged that on one of the other shows. But they got to keep their head in the game and don't cost themselves the game that way. And Raj said that last night when he was on your show, that the Niners can only beat themselves. And besides that, that's what happened.
Yeah, they beat themselves. Kansas City, by the way, leading 20-13 with 1:30 to play in the third quarter at Arrowhead in the AFC title game. Wesley Brooks, Philly pay Jalen Hurts $40 million. They in trouble. Niners just need to beef up the O-line and pay Bosa. It says pay Boss, but I think pretty sure Wesley meant pay Bosa.
Yeah.
Purdy, the presence of Purdy and Lance allow the 49ers to do exactly that. To take.
Whoa! Is that a fumble? Yeah. Yes. The
Oh
ball
my
slipped
God.
out. Oh my goodness!
Mahomes just had the worst fumble of all time.
Yeah, that's going to be reviewed. I bet he had the throwing motion, but did the ball come out before his arm moved forward?
NorCal Refrigeration. Any truth to the rumor Jimmy could have suited up this week, but Kyle said no. I have no idea. Sean says Garoppolo laughing. What the fuck? I saw that as well. It's not that big a deal. Jesus.
So were the players in the huddle, Brock and Kittle. It's like they were just like, "Hey, we can't throw the ball, but let's just go out and hit some guys and see what happens." Yeah, that's a fumble. Ball slipped out of his hand.
It's a rough night. It was a rough night. I don't blame. You know what? These guys are not machines, and there's a lot of camaraderie around the game, even in the stressful moments, where guys say things that make other guys laugh. And just because Jimmy Garoppolo was seen laughing, don't assume that what he was laughing in reference to. I mean, it always plays like he's laughing about their predicament. No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
In fact,
And that's what they put
likely
up on
not.
social media.
What's that?
That's what they put up on social media like
I
that.
know.
And
It's a joke.
my buddy Deuce that I told you about that played for Arizona, him
Right.
and Derek Anderson were caught talking and laughing, and it was so out of context that it cost Derek Anderson his job. So we don't know what was said or why he was smiling. We don't know that.
Hey,
Carson says, safe to say the 49ers are cursed. I don't know about cursed. Jonathan, Larry's on Kyle's nuts big time.
No.
I just don't believe in ripping Kyle for something that's not Kyle's fault. I mean, Kyle, they lost this game because they lost Brock Purdy.
Exactly.
If somebody says to you, in an elevator, you run to somebody in an elevator. In other words, you got like 20 seconds and they say, oh, the 49ers lost yesterday. I didn't see the game. What happened? And you're about to tell them in the elevator what happened. What you're going to bring up Kyle Shanahan? No. You're going to say Brock Purdy got hurt. Yeah. Brock Purdy got hurt and they fell behind and they kind of
the backup quarterback got knocked out too.
Yeah. Brock Purdy got hurt and the backup quarterback got knocked out and Purdy had to actually come back in, but he couldn't throw at all. And the defense knew it. And then, it just screwed up the game. And then the 49ers turned the ball over a bunch and it just wasn't their day. I mean, that's how I'd sum it up in an elevator. Where in there is Kyle Shanahan blew it?
Where was Kyle in the play that
he should have known that Brock was going to get hurt?
He should have had somebody better than Croft. Why? Because the person on TV said so. This is what the Niners have. If you want to blame the Niners for not being good enough or deep enough or stout enough at tight end, know who you're blaming. That's a Lynch category. Blame Lynch. Blame Peters.
One of the things, though, is you got a roster that's stacked. Would you rather have the Niners type of roster or the Rams, who are top heavy and only have all their money's going to like 5 or 6 guys, where the Niners have stars just at practically every position? You're not going to have star backups.
Clement Gray says candlestick curse is what I call it. No luck since.
I don't believe that. The roster is built. If people want to go back to the first year or year and a half when Kyle Shanahan first showed up with John Lynch, do they want that roster or they want this roster admitted to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
It's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which roster I'd prefer there. I mean,
the first
David
one,
Hassel
they couldn't do anything. They couldn't win any games.
Oh, I know. I mean, David Hasselhoff says Kinlaw's a big for nothing dude. And he was getting tossed. Was not impressed by Kinlaw at the end of this year. Just didn't see it. Didn't see it. I don't see the pursuit ability. I don't really see the consistency at the point of attack. He's enormously strong. He did stay healthy at the end, but he missed a lot of time this year. I don't know. He might just be a guy who's just kind of okay. Joe Young says, great season. Agree, Larry, that Brock is the guy. Love Kyle, but he always has one gaffe in a big game. Should have called the timeout after the Devontae play ended. Well, in hindsight, absolutely. Believe me, after I saw that he didn't catch it, I thought to myself, they should have replayed it. But at that point, it was too late, right?
I kind of wondered that too when I watched it, and I watched it was Jimmy Ward. He jumped up and right away he was doing his hands like this. That was not a catch, and so I thought they were gonna throw the challenge flag on that, but I didn't see it coming.
He was saying it wasn't a catch.
Yeah, he was.
Wow,
Jimmy Ward was.
Yep.
Then it's
Yeah,
on the
he's
Niners.
already-
It's on the
he's
Niners
already-
sideline. You got to be
Isn't
on
Jimmy
that.
one of the captains?
Is he, Larry? I don't
Is
know.
Jimmy
Well-
one of the 6 or 7 captains?
He
I don't
normally
think he
would be.
I don't
yeah.
think he was. I think Warner and
He-
Armstead were, but Jimmy should just call timeout then. If Kyle's not going to do it, and that situation is 4th down, and you're going to get the ball back, or like great field position for the Niners, call timeout. 0-0 game. Call
Yeah,
timeout, and then
seriously.
ask Kyle to throw the challenge. Say
It was
we're
a pivotal
challenging it.
call. It was absolutely a pivotal call.
A veteran player like that, I'm telling you, if Ward knew that was incomplete, then he should have called timeout. I'm sorry. What is Jimmy Ward, an 8-10-year veteran? Come on.
Brandon Vincent, he said that it was Hufanga that did that. I thought I saw Jimmy
Well,
Ward do that.
I've got the video highlight. I took a video highlight and tweeted it out. Hufanga's looking right at it. Now, I can't tell if maybe he's looking at something else, but he had a perfect view, and he was like 10 yards away. I mean, I don't know if I can show you on my phone if it'll show up here. But
Moonman says, "Can I call in?" About to go off. Moonman, you absolutely can call in. I put the invite in the chat. I'll throw it in there one more time for you. Feel free, call in. We'd love to have you.
Look at the view here with look at Hufanga looking at the ball.
Yeah.
He's right there. You can see the ball on the ground. He may not be looking at it.
This is a slow-mo. I know what you're saying, though. He looked like he had the angle.
He had a perfect angle.
Fire Kyle now says, Kyle unprepared. Unprepared.
How so? Fire Kyle now. Kyle unprepared. How so? Be a little more specific with your backseat driving.
So we're calling it backseat driving. G-Code Travels Vlog says Croft missed block reminds me of Varsity Blues, the movie. I always see that one on. I've never taken the time to see that. Should I stop down at Varsity Blues? Oh, did you see that Nick Bosa's brother, Joey Bosa, was wearing a Niner jacket?
Yeah, he's a free. Is he a free agent?
I don't know, but man, I'd take that guy on my
What
team.
if he comes over?
Killed for camping makes a donation. Thank you, Killed.
Put him on the opposite end, Bosa brothers on the ends.
I never blame the refs, but Shanahan not challenging the play on the first drive ended up being crucial. Had happened late, he would have challenged.
He said he was thinking of throwing the flag. He goes, I was thinking of throwing the flag. I don't know why he didn't.
Don't they have somebody upstairs that looks at that stuff?
Well, the problem is they didn't have the angle. And the NFL, to me, you're telling me the NFL didn't have that angle to put up first right away? Come on.
Well, you look at the play where Brock Purdy got his arm hit in the fumble, right? They waited a while and then challenged. Why wasn't that given? I mean,
I wouldn't put it past some local Philly camera operator to say, you know what? The guy who knows he's got the definitive angle to just be like, I'm having a little problem here. I'm having a glitch.
Oh, they had the angle because when you're a cameraman, you know what you got because you filmed it. Okay. There's several cameras. So the one camera that had it, are those cameramen hired by the NFL? Are they hired by the network? Who's got jurisdiction over those cameramen? Because the cameramen clearly saw what he shot, and he should have been able to press a button to somebody that goes to right away flag the call. That's NFL needs to take over jurisdiction and not have the networks. They need to give these guys, put a referee with each cameraman if it's this important.
So what is this important? There's billions of dollars on the line.
Exactly.
James Cho says, Larry, did you see Jimmy Ward's post-game interview? I did not. He says Jimmy Ward can go. Can go like leave? People love Jimmy Ward. Sid Brown says, love the show, Larry, but it's just a fact that every starting quarterback for the 49ers, save 2019, has been injured, including backups on a run-first team. What's the solution? I mean, you have 9 quarterbacks. 49er fan, how about Derek Carr? How about not? I don't want Derek Carr. No.
That's not
Wesley Brooks. How do you pay Tom Brady? We need to pay Bosa. We need to know line. You have to pay Emmanuel Mosley. This is not fantasy. Can we have a logical discussion on how to pay everyone? Well, I mean, first of all, the cap, you can move some things around. There are some ways to play with the numbers. You do have to make some tough decisions. Who knows what Tom Brady wants to finish in San Francisco. I think it's pretty reasonable to think that he would take less to do so. The question is, what's his number? And can they fold that number in? And how does that impact Brock? And is Brock going to be able to go next year? And these are all things that are going to have to be discussed here in the days ahead. Vicky Pellich, Josh Johnson was a Kyle decision. Running Trey between the tackles was a Kyle decision. Not scheming appropriately to limit Purdy's exposure to the pass rush is a Kyle decision. Nobody in this organization overrides Kyle. Wow. I'll disagree with you on Josh Johnson. I definitely running Trey between the tackles was Kyle. Not scheming appropriately to limit Purdy's exposure to the pass rush. I don't know. That to me sounds like 2020 hindsight. Hey, Big Mac Sports, let me jump, man. We got some other people want to get to. You got a final word on your way out the door?
Yep. We got this off season to make everything right. And I'll be going live tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to go live in a couple hours here because I live in a later time zone for everybody. So I welcome everybody to come on there.
Tell people what's the name of your channel.
At Big Mac Sports on YouTube. So it'll be probably around 8:30 Pacific time to 9 o'clock Pacific time. So
hey, man, thanks for stopping by. Go Niners. Rough day, but have a great stream. Thanks for joining ours.
All right. See you, Larry.
Take care. Big Mac Sports stopping by. Digital Drew is being added. Digital Drew, Danny, Digital Drew, Danny, back and forth. Danny's in Arizona. Digital Drew's in Chicago. Batman 29, by the way, said, didn't they say Jimmy would be ready for the playoffs? I don't know. Is there controversy there? Was Jimmy eligible and Shanahan didn't want him eligible? I mean, come on. I find that hard to believe.
Not given how Josh played today. If he was available, he would have taken him.
He's not that
just in case. Yeah.
I think this may change the format going forward when you're in a big playoff game, whether it's the championship or the Super Bowl, that maybe you do carry that third quarterback for a guy who's at the end of the roster who may just help you a little bit on special teams, because I'm telling you, not having a third quarterback in a game like today that's capable
of game over.
Yeah. I mean, and the one thing I noticed when Josh Johnson was in there, they stopped running what they run for Brock. It was kind of like almost like, oh, we got a limited playbook. He can't run the full offense.
Digital Drew, look at that. YouTube member. Hey. Look at that. Hey. You're going backpacking there. Are you going one? Is that one strap or two straps?
Two straps.
You're two strapping. Okay.
Yeah, you're hiking at the local, forest preserves out here in Illinois. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Real quick, Dan, it's finally nice to make your acquaintance.
I've
been watching you a lot.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's good to meet you. Yeah, it's a tough tough to swallow today. Actually, losing today as a fan and watching the game, it's a little bit more like you just kind of just go, whatever. It's just when you lose your both quarterbacks and you just realize it's not your day. I mean, had they lost a battle, where it was 27-26, 27-24, last second field goal, and you'd be like, God, you'd be screaming all that. You could actually kind of just let this one go and realize it's kind of like the players. I was listening to Kittle. He's like, you just go out there and try and hit someone in the mouth next play. But
Yeah.
Hopefully we try and get a TD. If not, I'm going to hit somebody in the mouth. Nothing we could do. They knew that they were handicapped. They couldn't. They were down to like 15 plays that they could run.
If that. Once you're down to technically fourth string quarterback, I mean, what are your options really? You're going to run an incredibly vanilla, very basic offense. And that was the worst part about the whole game, is that you didn't get to say, okay, the best of the Niners against the best of the Eagles, who wins? You never got to answer that question. So
Right.
On top of the frustration of losing yet again in the championship game, you don't even have an answer to the question, did they kick our ass? Did the defense travel? Did physicality make a difference? Well, none of it matters because our quarterback went out that soon. And I know I've seen a few people in the chat say, "Oh, the defense had a great game." What game were you watching? They did not have a great game, in my opinion. Anyway, it had been a long time since I've seen a running back trot through their defense untouched
Twice.
into the end zone twice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are you? And I put this, I actually put that squarely on D'Amico, because if you watch any of the Eagles games, that's a basic run play that they run, at least 20% of the time. So they're going to square up, go off tackle, cut very quickly. Miles Sanders is going to get in there. And there wasn't a Niner within 5 yards of him. He was able to sign the ball on his way to the end zone. So anybody who says the defense, they played great. Well, I think they did what they could do given the circumstances. But I mean, if you ever had, I was thinking this and I was yelling this at my dad when I was texting during the game. If you ever wondered what it was like, or what it would be like if an NFL team played without a quarterback, here you go. You got your answer.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that they scored with Brock out of the game when McCaffrey made that big run and scored 7-7 shows you that they would have been in this game easily with Brock, because the fact they were able to score and make it a tie game into the second quarter, that says something. So half the playbook was taken away from them and they were still in the game. I mean, heck, with a minute and a half to go, they were down a score and they were looked like, hey, they might have been able to move the ball into at least field goal range. So big difference going into half, either tied up 14-14 or 14-10 or even down 14-7. But that play, and I don't know what, obviously Josh Johnson took his eyes off the ball and looked downfield to see, because he fumbled the snap. He wasn't, looking. That was the killer. That was when they didn't hold him and they scored another TD. It was kind of like, yeah, this thing's over.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that's so, this is, people are going to think this is, more wussification of the NFL and so on and so forth. But it doesn't seem like a little inconsistent. We have these rules to protect the quarterback, and it's like, if you land on the quarterback, penalty. If if he slides and you bump into him, penalty. But you can take a quarterback and you can basically rip his rotator cuff right out of the socket, right at the point of snap. I mean, could you imagine a baseball player, or you could somehow take a pitcher in the middle of his pitch and affect his pitching arm? I mean, it just seems, are we trying to protect the quarterbacks or not? Because if we are, wouldn't keeping them off of like your throwing shoulder and arm, like contact, direct contact, wouldn't that be somewhere higher on the list than it appears to be? I know it doesn't happen a lot, but you could see that Reddick has got this thing down where he's, he goes for the arm and he times it. And he basically just aims for that shoulder joint. He did it to Johnson. He did, and they got both Niner quarterbacks on the arm. I don't know. It's just like, are we protecting the quarterback? It seems like that right there would be at the top of the list of protecting quarterbacks is don't let people, basically break their arm mid throw.
Well, I mean, they've taken so much away from the game. They might as well stick flags on these guys, quarterback, because
I know, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's where, that's how a quarterback can get seriously hurt. That's how a quarterback's career can
I don't mind that
changed.
just simply because it did create a fumble, and that's what the defense is trying to do. The play I probably had more of a problem with was the sack on Johnson that gave him the concussion. Sue put his body, slammed him to the ground. We've seen that called all year long. Had that been Mahomes or Brady or any big star, they would have called it. But because it's a, 4-string quarterback journeyman, it's like, not important.
Yeah. I mean, it's there really is two standards. Rakib says, I hope they left Josh Johnson in Philadelphia. Come on, Rakib. GTC, was Jake Delhomme ever the same throwing wise mechanically after Tommy John? That's a good question.
I think he could recover if he has Tommy John, because it's an elbow injury, and baseball pitchers come back stronger than before. It's probably, if it is a Tommy John surgery, you won't see him at all next year if that's the case, because
it's
pitchers
18 months.
Yeah. So
Jabez says thought the decision to defer to the second half was also bad. They've been doing that all year, right?
It's par for the course.
Yeah, you want that 2-for-1. They had a shot at it.
Yeah, they did.
They did. But Larry, to your point, Larry, you do see that play often, right? You see defensive ends or linebackers coming in off the edge and hitting a quarterback right as he's in his throwing motion. It does happen, but how often do we actually see like an injury to an elbow or to a shoulder based on those plays? I think it is kind of rare, and this situation was kind of freak. When I saw it, I didn't think he was hurt. I was like, okay, that's a run-of-the-mill play. And then they were checking him out on the sidelines. I didn't know that was the trainer. I thought, okay, this quarterback, somebody on the offensive side of the ball talking about what they did. And then the announcers were like, no, that's the training staff. I was a bit shocked to hear that he had come out hurt.
Yeah, it was. What
do you think of this one? MF says trade to Indy for a first-round pick. Indy loves Trey Lance. Would you trade Trey for a first-round pick? If Tom Brady called you and said, I want to come there, and you got Brock Purdy, but he's, hurt for a little bit, and would you trade Trey Lance in that scenario?
I don't think they're trading Lance just simply because it's a $10 million cap hit to trade him. And that's going to hurt because they're going to need that $10 million for, some of the guys they're trying to sign.
Yeah. Last week you'd say, yeah, you probably do that. Right now, no, we don't even know if Purdy's going to be in camp. Depends on what's going on with his elbow. But either way, they have a very interesting offseason coming up. Just because they do have two young quarterbacks, I think they're not going to bring back Jimmy. They're going to let him walk. I don't even think they're going to entertain Tom Brady, to be honest. I know the loss today, immediately I heard national news start bringing up Brady. I still don't think Kyle, entertains that.
I don't know. It's they said no to Brady once. He went and won the Super Bowl. I agree that if Brock Purdy's healthy, there's no real reason to go down that road. But if Brock Purdy is going to be not healthy, and so you have a 1 year, whatever, why not? I mean, it seems almost like it aligns perfectly with your plan. Or if Brock's going to be, you don't know if he's going to be healthy, then, you could always let him get healthy for a year and go 1 year with Brady. I don't know. I mean, the one thing about it is the reason that I understand what Danny's saying about the cap hit with Trey Lance, but you've got a number of guys in that room who don't have a ton of football left in them, who are great players. Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle and Trent Williams, of course, and Jimmy Ward. They've got some big time veteran players. Robbie Gold. Would they, are they going to, go with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy and, roll, or are they going to try to, win a title and go with somebody like a Brady? I just think that I think Shanahan and Lynch both understand the dynamic that right now they're in an organization where the standard is to win championships, and they have yet to do it. And so they also know that if they do win that sixth Lombardi, that they're going to be kind of like made men going forward with the 49ers and have with the ability to kind of call their shots. So I think they're keenly aware.
They got a window right now. They got a window of opportunity because they're stacked. That could change very quickly with the cap. So, I mean, we saw what the Rams looked like this year after winning it all last year. So you got to take advantage of it while you can. So I'm thinking they're going to bring somebody in. If Purdy is not available, you're definitely going to see one of two things. You're going to see Jimmy back with Trey, and they're going to battle it out, or they're going to move on. Yeah, they're going to bring in somebody who is more of an established star, not just a run-of-the-mill guy.
Go get Lamar if you want.
I mean, there's a guy they could go get, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them go after, someone like Brady just because he's a free agent. And like you said, Larry, he wants to play for the Niners. I mean, it's a perfect situation for him to finish up his career. He would be able to run this offense unbelievably. And he would have the weapons around him to do it. So you don't really have to, all you have to do is have Tom run the offense, kind of like what Purdy was doing, but Brady would be able to run it so much more efficient because of his experience.
I'm going to say something insane. Do you think at this point in his career, Brady's better than Purdy based on what we've seen?
Better as far as,
I don't know.
Just better. I mean,
Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, I think.
Yeah, he's got the intangibles. I don't know physically if he could do, he's not as quick and
can't
mobile.
Escape like
see, that's the thing
never
that I
really
love
could,
about
but he's
Purdy.
got a big arm.
Yeah, and he can still throw the deep ball.
And also, even against the Niners, the Niners were so much better. And they had a lot of O-line injuries in Tampa this year. They don't have much of a run game. They didn't have much offensive balance. And yet they had the hardest damn time sacking him in that game because the ball just gets out so quick and he's pretty damn accurate. I watched him on the binoculars closely to see, what does this guy really have left? And I thought he looked great. I really thought he looked good.
Yeah, I thought he looked old. To put it as bluntly as I can, in the last few
I
games,
think he did.
He looked really, really old.
Yeah,
that was later in the year. Then when the Niners played him, they didn't win the game, but the ball came out on time. He was hitting guys in stride. He just didn't, he just didn't have the players. He didn't really have, didn't have the weapons. Didn't have the run game. Didn't have any offensive balance. I mean, in the game they lost to Dallas, he threw it 66 times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a ton.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's, the hardest thing to evaluate is the quarterback versus the rest of the team around the quarterback. I mean, it's easy to say he looks old because we know he's old, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he made him, who knows? Maybe he won't even come back. Maybe he'll retire because I think what you start to see is older quarterbacks show their age. They usually show it in December and January, the end of the year.
Yeah,
and he might have hit a wall this year.
Yeah, maybe the answer is you bring him back and you have it. You play Trey a little bit and keep him kind of like load management. I don't know. Maybe he's in there and he's and you got Tom Brady helping Trey develop and Trey's getting some playing time. Deep bomb. Is this going to go? Ooh, picked off. Whoa. Down at the 14. Kansas City's got the ball. Wow, just under 7 minutes to
And
go.
a tie game. Oh wow, how about that?
Yeah, dang it. I got I got money on Cincinnati. So
sorry. One subject that had come up a little bit is how much of Kyle does this outcome or the injuries or anything else, how much of that really sits on him? If you look, I guess, not just at this game, but you look at the season, and since he's come in 2017, there's been one season that he had a healthy quarterback, and he ended up going to the Super Bowl, but only one season. Is there just a style that he just puts quarterbacks in harm's way? And I mean, we're going to have to keep 4 or 5 quarterbacks around. I mean, that seems to be like his MO. Quarterbacks fall like flies. How much of this has to sit with him? How much of this has to be squarely on Kyle's shoulders? Like, if you're the offensive genius you say you are, you have to scheme or put a game plan in place that keeps your players healthy. It doesn't seem like he really cares about that. I've criticized him in the past of basically whatever's working, he will ride it until the defense figures out a way to stop it or the thing breaks. I think we can look at Debo, CMC this year, or Debo last year. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird thing. I mean, it's like, is Kyle the reason that Jimmy got hurt? You know, Jimmy tore his ACL. He came back in bounds. He kind of stepped awkwardly. I don't know. I mean, it's like, he seems like we're talking about a guy whose offense typically throws it short, gets it out of the quarterback's hand, and relies on weapons to run after the catch. That doesn't seem like a head coach that has a scheme that's going to get a quarterback killed. That seems like a very quarterback friendly, low risk type scheme. But at the end of the day, they have had a ton of injuries, and they've changed out the medical staff. They've changed their travel habits. They're analyzing this thing constantly. So it's not like it doesn't matter to them. It matters a lot. So I just, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how much of it's Kyle, how much of it, I got into this discussion with another guy. We were talking personnel, and I said, well, the one thing you can say is that Kyle typically likes running backs and he prioritizes guys who have the speed to get to the edge and make a big play and then cut it back. Well, a lot of those times those guys run upright. A lot of times those guys are track guys. A lot of times those guys take hits and then they get hurt. So it's a different, maybe it has something to do with that. The fact that he does value speed at running back, and there's a lot of collisions involving running backs, and thus, he goes through a lot of running backs. As far as the quarterback thing, I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, why should Shanahan's quarterbacks throwing shorter with all these weapons and getting it out quickly and usually, playing off of a strong running game and play action game? Why would that system put quarterbacks in harm's way? That seems like a system that's almost designed to protect quarterbacks.
Or is that the system because they're going through so many quarterbacks? I guess it's chicken and the egg. We're not sure what's coming first. Is that Kyle just scheming around? Well, this is the guy I got because the other 3 guys are hurt, or the other 2 guys are hurt. I guess this is the only game plan I can run. But when you break it down, super simple, and you're like, what the Niners since 2017? What did they go through? 9, 10, 11 quarterbacks?
Well,
it's a significant amount. Yeah, it's quite a bit.
It also shows how hard it is to find a good quarterback. They're hard to scout. They're hard to evaluate. They're They're just hard to find. You can use as we're seeing firsthand. You can use the third pick in the draft on one, and he cannot be the guy. You can use the last pick in the draft on another, and he very much could be the guy.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, because you look at there's so many wide receivers in the game, so many running backs, different positions. Quarterbacks, there's 2 for team. That's 64. Plus they have usually a guy on the practice squad. So you're looking at, 96 quarterbacks roughly in the NFL. And yet there's probably only 10 good ones. I was talking to Joe Theismann about this the other day. We were chatting and he was saying, there's really only 5 to 10 really, really gifted quarterbacks in the NFL, which is crazy. You look at 32 teams, there's probably if you looked at the receivers, there's probably 20 super really good receivers that you can, pick. So why is quarterback it's the top position, and you'd think it would produce, at least 20, 25 really good players in the league. So it's strange to me. This game is coming down. Boy, it's like so many flags. This one better be against KC, because if this is
it's a 20 for those who are not watching, it's 20-20 Cincinnati, Kansas City at Arrowhead, counting it down towards the 2-minute warning, 2 minutes and 36 seconds. Kansas City has the ball. They've crossed midfield. They're driving, looking to put a field.
Just had a
Harrison
holding
Butker
call
field goal, put it away. By the way, Danny's, just so you know, the Giants have signed catcher Roberto Perez.
Who's Uncle Roberto? I don't know. I don't think I know Uncle Roberto. I've never met him.
He's a 2-time Gold Glove Award winner.
Really?
Yeah, 2-time Gold Glove winner.
Roberto Perez?
Roberto Perez.
What team is he from?
He played with the Indians and the Pirates.
Wow. Why have I never heard of Roberto Perez? Is he a back? Has he just been a career backup? Or if he's won Gold Gloves, he must be.
He's won 2 Gold Gloves, Danny.
Wow.
Roberto Perez, come on down.
Yeah.
Baseball season is just around the corner.
That's a good move, I guess.
He's 36 years old, Larry. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't say I love him. I just said Roberto Perez. Dan Serrano says, hit that like, family. We also get this one from Corey Cooper. At least we have the rest of the Giants offseason to look forward to it. Oh, wait. Nothing
Let
worse.
me take this. Take this Niner stuff off and go get my Giants stuff.
Yeah. 4th and 8. Cincinnati is going to Kansas City's punting 4th and 8. Former Niner Trent Taylor back to receive the punt.
Wow, so Larry, back onto the quarterback thing and the injuries. Is it less about potentially scheme that Kyle is running, or could this be a byproduct of their lack of investing into the offensive line outside of Trent Williams?
You know what it is? I'll tell you what happened here.
For taking, Sermon in the third, taking TDP in the third. There's a lot of good offensive linemen we could plug in, because that was clearly evident today that Philly absolutely has the best offensive line in the league.
Yeah. Although it seemed like Lane Johnson was
false
starting.
Come on.
At least 5 times it seemed like, and went uncalled. I'm not sure.
The one at the goal line where they had the ball back up to their own.
I just kept noticing it. I just kept noticing it.
At the 1 yard line, Larry, when they were backed up on their own 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
He jumped it was unbelievable. It's like they didn't call it once. Not once.
It's like he was keeping the clock himself.
Yeah.
You guys go when I go. So I can't be offsides.
He had that groin injury, and he was getting a quicker start to be able to, get in front of Bosa. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Digital Drew, what was the question? I was so distracted with that. What was your question just now?
Speaking about scheme and quarterbacks getting hurt, is this more of a byproduct of the organization not investing in the offensive line through the draft?
I know what I was going to say. What happens? They invested in Solomon Thomas. It didn't work. The Kinlaw pick. I mean, they've had to. if Solomon Thomas had been a star, then they wouldn't have had to keep investing in all these D linemen. The reality is they've gone D line, D line, D line, D line. Some of them they've hit on, some of them they've missed on. They always feel like they need more D line. One of those picks would have been an offensive tackle or an offensive guard of substance if they had hit on one of those D linemen. So I think it's their swinging and missing on some of these D linemen have caused them to go D line over O line. And it's like an organizational philosophy that they believe that they need to pour draft capital into D line and that they can develop O line or sign O linemen. But when you do that, that means you hardly ever get blue chip offensive linemen. So, I definitely think that they've got some good looking young prospects on the offensive line, but no blue chippers. And they probably could use a blue chip tackle. Well, where do you typically get those guys? Those are first round picks almost exclusively. So if they're going to get that tackle to replace McGlinchey, and I guess people were saying in the postgame McGlinchey was real emotional, I expect McGlinchey to go back east. He's from Philly. He's probably, I think, the third or fourth rated offensive tackle. For that reason alone, in free agency, he's going to get paid. And he's going to price himself beyond the Niners,
Could they franchise tag him?
They could, but they won't. They won't.
What would you do? Would you move Burford out to right tackle and put Poe at the right guard, or?
I would see if I could do that, but that's going to take Burford to really improve his footwork. You may want to stick Burford at guard and just, go try to sign another tackle.
What's their thoughts on Jalen Moore?
Maybe you draft one.
Is he ready to
Jalen Moore,
in?
I think, is a prospect. Yeah, I like Jalen Moore.
And Zakel, is he a tackle or is he interior?
Zakel, I think is going to be the starting right guard next year. That's why I was saying maybe Zakel could be the starting right guard, and you can move Burford to right tackle. But you might have some issues against the speed rushers on that side. So I'm not sure. I'm more confident that Zakel can step in and play right guard than I am that that Burford could kick out to right tackle.
Yeah. All right, 2 minutes to go. Cincinnati's got the ball 1st and 10. They're on the 16-yard line, their own 16. So they just got to get in field goal range. Burrow back.
They got a good kicker as well, don't they?
Evan McPherson. Yes.
Yeah.
He can hit from 55. Yeah.
49er George says Wirfs was there to draft before they gave the pick to the Bucks. Yeah, exactly. Tristan Wirfs, that pick was a Kinlaw draft. They probably should have taken Wirfs instead. They wound up taking Kinlaw, and they found some other players that have helped out there. And Kinlaw hasn't really come of age. He's not really a pass rusher. He's kind of a first and second down run stuffer only. And that's a high pick to use on, a player that's a first and second down player only. So, that's the dilemma,
And the market's not looking very good for right tackles right now. You got a 30-year-old George Fant from the Jets, but he's making $9 million. I mean, maybe you can get him for $5 million, but you're almost paying McGlinchey at that point.
Yeah. I wouldn't pay McGlinchey. I mean, I don't think McGlinchey's as bad as some people do, because I think he's accountable. I think he's decent in the run game. He lacks some speed against the best, most dynamic speed rushers for sure. And that's not going to improve over time. But I mean, you can do a lot worse than Mike McGlinchey, but I do think his price will go beyond their means and they'll let him go. Killed for Camping says Kyle should shoulder the blame to the extent of going into the game. You have a rookie quarterback and didn't protect him enough by running the ball with McCaffrey and Mason with Mitchell out. Well, yeah. I mean, the Niners have had, instead of having a run heavy scheme to protect the rookie quarterback, they've maintained offensive balance, and they believe that's the way to go. It's a tough call. A lot of these things feel like 2020 hindsight, after the game. SFC says he's making a donation. Thank you, sir. It's just tough. It's tough because it's like, it didn't work. So it's like you call up in the post game and say, I wouldn't do this. And on the heels of it didn't work. It's like, yeah, you're the king. You're right. But a lot of times it's a little bit more involved than that,
Yeah.
It's not always.
Yeah, there is. there were running criticism throughout the season of, and one thing that you can criticize Shanahan about is him not dipping into all of his personnel. And Mason was probably the poster child for that this year,
Yeah.
of like, this guy is killing it and you're just not utilizing him. And nobody understood why he wasn't doing that. He didn't fumble.
Wow. Big play, 3rd and 16, backed up to their own 10-yard line. Burrow hits Hayden Hurst and gets it all the way out to the 34-yard line, gets out of bounds. 56 seconds left in a tie ball game. This is great.
Danny's doing
Wow.
all play-by-play.
I'm going to have to mute myself because I got to listen to Tony Romo.
Oh,
Yeah, this one
joy.
is, dude says, I feel so dissatisfied today. These Niners deserve better than this. I mean, that's what's so bad about this, is that it's just such a deflating loss. I mean, it was maybe one of the worst football games I've ever seen, as far as just once Purdy was out and the Niners didn't have a quarterback and they can't get plays called on time, and they're running into a brick wall because the other team knows you're going to run, and you got nothing you can do, and the game wasn't done on the scoreboard, but you felt like it was done because you just didn't feel like the Niners could score with Hurts. So I don't know. It was a very weird game. I mean, I'll say this: that game was so frustrating. It's like there was like no part of that game that I enjoyed, because it was just constant stress and impending doom. You know?
It was the best way that I could describe it is saying it was an absolute gut punch.
Yeah.
Like the second you saw Purdy go out, and I tell you, like, all hope it left my body when I saw Josh Johnson just fumble a snap away, and it hit him square in the hands.
Oh, I know. And then the business decision that he made when a ball hit the turf, and he had it, but then it got away from him, but he just didn't want to really extend his arms there.
Yeah, even the effort to get it back was so half-assed. You were just like, oh man. And you saw it in the body language of even the defenses. They were going back out after Purdy was out. You could tell that they had not brought it down a gear emotionally. Now it's a huge ask. Like, yeah, we barely have a quarterback. Go out there and keep killing.
Ooh, sack.
Big ask.
Chris Jones is just so much the man. Chris Jones is like the greatest player of all time.
He certainly does not make enough money.
I mean, seriously, that guy makes so many big plays.
Their line today, Cincinnati's
he's playing defensive end
horrible.
in that line right there. Defensive end,
just
Chris Jones.
Run through that line like they're running through, the paper when you run out of the field in high school and you go through the cheerleaders, run through the paper. Kind of looks like the Cincinnati offensive line today. They've just been nothing. Unbelievable. The
James Cho says Chris Jones killed us. Yeah. Oh, man. Single-handedly ruined the Super Bowl.
All right. Now we're going to have to.
So now what's going to happen?
They're going to punt. Hopefully Cincinnati doesn't get the ball and come down and get a field goal. Vintage Mahomes. I want to see this game go overtime.
Oh, Kansas City's getting the ball back.
Yeah. They'll get the ball back with probably, 35 seconds or so. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully this guy gets a good punt.
That's enough for Mahomes.
I know. But
you got to think Mahomes wins this game, right? No? Fournette George says, would have been great to see Kyle run the ball.
Takes it at the 19. Half. He crosses over the 25. He goes over to the 30. He's got room. 35 down the sideline. 40, 45. He's out of bounds at the 50-yard line. Oh, my goodness. They need like 15 yards to get in field goal range with 30 seconds to go.
Butker's been really inconsistent, though.
Yeah, he has been this year.
Fournette George says, would have been great to see Kyle run the ball more in the first half in each of these postseason playoff games. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. They ran it a lot with Jimmy a few years ago. They got to the Super Bowl. this year they had more balance, and things were looking great until today. Now people are saying they should have run the ball more.
You know, when Purdy went out, that's kind of what popped into my head of, well, 2019 Green Bay, we don't really need a quarterback if we can just run the ball. And yeah, we just couldn't even run the ball.
Couple
Bless
sneezes
you,
there.
Larry.
Thank you. Dan Serrano says, "Good night, faithful. Let's keep our heads up and look forward to what's coming up. Red and gold till I'm dead and cold. Dead and cold." Thanks, Krueg. Dan, that was poetic.
19 seconds left. Kansas City's got the ball in Cincinnati
Who
territory.
wins the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl? The
I think
Andy
it's-
Reid Bowl, right?
I still think the Bengals are going to pull this out. I'm hoping.
The Chiefs have the ball with 20 seconds left, but you like the Bengals?
21 seconds left. They're out of timeouts now.
Oh, you said it's going overtime.
I'm hoping. Otherwise, the Chiefs are.
Harrison Butker's
walking
an
off.
interesting kicker. He has a powerful leg, but he was incredibly consistent early in his career, and he's been kind of inconsistent the
They
last
still
couple of
need
years.
about 10 yards to get a decent shot.
Spy
Okay.
versus Spy says we might have found the quarterback of the future with the last pick in the draft, only to end his career the same year with a crappy play call.
Get to Mahomes, sack. Oh,
Do you guys
Grab
look
the
at
ball.
that play as a bad play call and had a bad result?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't look at it as a bad play call. I do think you have to account for the, third most impactful edge player in the league this year.
Yeah.
Poor Croft. I think he's going to sit with that the entire offseason.
Show a
But
little bit more respect for Hassan Reddick. Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah, he came off the edge and beat him up and did what he's really, really good at. So can't blame him.
This is kind of interesting too. Play action works best
Get him.
after establishing the run. There's no doubt.
It's true. And I was hoping to see the pocket move a bit more. I know we talked about that leading up to the game, how we wanted to move.
Oh, no, you're not going to call a flag.
You have to call a flag there. He pushed him out
He
way
was
late.
no.
He was
I
on.
don't
He was
think
off the white onto the dirt.
Oh my goodness, that's going to be a game-winning
Somebody's
field
hurt
goal.
bad on that, by the way, on that play.
Don't-
The Bengal guy looked like he tore up his knee.
Oh my goodness, they're calling it. I want to
Who's
see
that?
this. You can't. Let me see this.
No. Look how far he's off the. Oh, Joseph Asai.
No, he barely. He was
Okay, look.
falling.
He's out of bounds right now. Ooh, somebody took a hit.
Osai.
Who did 58 hit?
He hit
Oh.
Mahomes.
No, look at the guy at the end. Oh. Yeah, look at it. He's all the way. He tripped
Oh
him.
jeez.
Oh. Well, some old guy took a shot into the bench.
Oh
I'm
man,
telling you, one of these shots would just kill you.
that's unfortunate.
When you're on the sidelines at camp,
That
man,
was
you gotta
fourth
keep your head on a
down.
swivel.
That was fourth down. They just got 15 yards for that.
Purdy have stayed in Philly. Also, Philly has no class. Purdy would have slayed Philly. Also, Philly has no class. We got this one. 49er George. Would Sue have been the better signing than Ridgeway? He took Johnson out. Well, the Niners wanted Sue and made a play for him. He
Yeah,
chose
how's that guy? He gets
to go to
2
Philly.
Super Bowls in a row. Okay, here it is. Game on the line. 45-yard attempt. Snapped. Ball placed down. It's up. It's right down the middle. Good.
So you guys have been I had no idea you guys were live.
Boom.
Oh, that is such horse ass. What a
That's-
crappy way for Kansas City. Kansas City got every call.
Yep, every call. This looked like a fixed job to me. Unbelievable.
Gross. How about them just giving them another third down? And it's just...
I think
Man.
I'll take Kansas City with points right now.
So do the Kelsey brothers do their podcast on Radio Row?
Well, that's right. It's a pretty good football family right there, man.
Yeah.
My God.
Uh,
Those guys. Who's the older brother? The center?
Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it. That just
Burrow
stinks.
outplayed Mahomes today.
That
sucks.
stinks. That really stinks.
So many like Chris Jones falling on top of Joe Burrow, and like if it was the other way around, it would be 70-yard penalty.
How many? Yeah, jeez.
Butker.
What an unsatisfying day of football.
Yeah, that sucks.
Dang.
This was also just a ref show. Like it was so many flags in both games. It was gross.
I had Bengals plus 260.
What'd you think, Rye? What'd you think of the game? I mean, obviously, we've been talking about it for over 90 minutes now, but it's just a kick to the gut, losing Purdy, and then it was such a frustrating game. There was so much time left, but I never really felt like the Niners would do it because I just kind of know that you're not going to win with your fourth string quarterback who is probably signed mostly because he's local,
I don't know. I'm too nauseated because I know how Nick Wright's going to go on friggin' I just hate this. If you guys, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have been talking about. I mean, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. I don't think there's any blame to assign. It was essentially a no contest.
Some people want to blame Shanahan. I
That's
don't.
Weird.
Some people want to say that Purdy wasn't any good. I think that's lunacy. To me, I think you can be critical of the fact that Hassan Reddick was being blocked by Tyler Kroft, and one time he's being blocked by a wide receiver, I guess. But even that plays is kind of 20/20 hindsight. My whole thing is just, I think ultimately, it's just bad luck. Your quarterback got hurt. I actually after watching the way the Niner defense played for the next, let's say, quarter of football after the injury, made me think that if they had Purdy, they would have won the game.
Yeah, no, it was a true 50-50 proposition. That's a really good team, but and that was obviously a BS start to the game with that touchdown. It just sucks because it's all freaking butterfly effect. It's like if that didn't happen, and you can get caught in your head. But I don't know. It just sucks because it's like, who did the Eagles play? The Eagles get to it's supposed to be difficult to get to the Super Bowl. They have the easiest schedule all year. Then they get a bye. Then they play an absolutely shitty Giants team that everyone hyped up that was like 3-6 down the stretch that they've already pounded twice. And then they play Josh Johnson and a team that can't throw 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. So that's just kind of whack.
I know. Seriously, I was saying, usually I thought tonight it was either going to be like this elation, the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, or this like feeling that, you know what, we thought we had a good enough team, but Philly was way better and they're just on a different level. Instead, I kind of feel like the 49ers are the better team, but it's just such a hollow feeling.
Jalen Hurts was not good. He did not look comfortable the entire game.
He didn't look that great.
I tweeted out that like the way it felt to me was like, remember after Game 3, Boston Warriors, because that was a slugfest of a series, and Curry's ankle got hurt. But then, of course, he comes back and is incredible, and he's Superman in Game 4. They go on to win. This is like that series if Curry just never came back, and then it's just like I don't even know what to take away from this. Like, good for you guys, I guess.
It's a weird feeling. Green Glassfull says Purdy better than any future quarterback. Listen now. 49er Faithful says we need home court next season. Get the first seed. The bottom line is teams battle all year in the regular season to have this game today at home, and you see why. At home in January, you're going to get good calls. You're going to get the fans on your side, the weather that favors you, so on and so forth. It means a ton. Credit Kansas City and Philadelphia, the two number 1 seeds in the playoffs, are going to meet in the Super Bowl. So NFL is scripted entertainment. They made sure KC Philly, Fellahard 2800. What do you guys think? Did the
I don't know
NFL
about
want
that.
Eagles Chiefs?
I think in back rooms, sure. Of course they want that. That's 2 number 1 seeds. They know that's going to be a huge draw. But if you look at the penalties that were called on the Niners, at least in that game, most of them were legit. Most were very clear. You can see that the defense just left, did not bring their A game with them, and committed a lot of dumb penalties. Now, some of that may have been born out of frustration of just not having an offense and like the entire outcome of this game being put on their shoulders. You try to do too much, you reach, like Greenlaw's face mask. I mean, obvious, does he do that if they're up by a touchdown at that point? I don't know.
It's a good point. Akeem the Dream says Alex Smith had to face the Mannings, Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, Luck to get to the Super Bowl. Hurts just beat Daniel Jones and Josh Johnson. That is absolutely remarkable if you think about that you could go to the Super Bowl.
Their best team, Larry, the best team they played all year with Jalen Hurts out there was the Dallas Cowboys with what's his face?
Cooper Rush.
That was the best team they faced.
They faced Rodgers.
Yeah, but the Packers are crap.
Yeah.
So
it went overtime.
Yeah, and it went overtime.
SFC says, I don't understand why the 49er fans think that Shanahan has gotten all of his quarterbacks hurt during his time here as the coach. Please name me one NFL team that has a healthy quarterback all year. I'll wait.
Yeah, it's gross. It's weird. It's just people trying to zag because it sucks because there's, the end of the season, people want to be able to debate. It would have been fun if Shanahan melted down and then at least we could debate that. But instead, it's just they had a really good year, and it was, I thought Shanahan was awesome all year. Purdy was awesome all year. I thought the whole team was great and primed for a Super Bowl run. They just ran into some shocking bad luck.
49er George dropping the 50 spot.
Go, George.
Jalen Hurts, 160 total yards, 1 touchdown. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown combined for 6 catches for 54 yards. Or 64 yards and 0 touchdowns. It took our third and fourth quarterback getting injured for our season to end. No, I know. Lenore and Charvarius stood up and played great. That's the one thing that got lost in this is those guys. The Devontae thing that was a catch wasn't even a catch. And so if you take that one away, it's 5 catches for 30 yards or something, right?
If you watch the game, all of their scoring drives, yes, they eventually broke those little 12-yard, 15-yard rushes, but it's just because the Niners defense was on the field for 9 minutes at a time, it felt like. And it was they would get a stop, third down, some weird borderline call that could be called, maybe not called, boom, all right, now they're moving up. And it's just every kind of 50-50 thing sort of went against them. I thought the roughing the punter was totally whack. Yeah, I don't understand people in the chat that are saying bad luck, what a bad take. I don't know what else to say. I mean, Purdy, that's brutal. They didn't have a quarterback on the roster.
This is the argument. Real Freedom Productions. He says Kyle Shanahan, he's aggressive when he should be conservative, and he's conservative when he should be aggressive. It is interesting. I will say this. It is interesting that we've now just take today's playoff game and last week's playoff game. Last week's playoff game, he's got Brock Purdy, who's never lost, 4-year collegiate starter, and he was very conservative with how he coached that game. But tonight, with Josh Johnson, who's your 4th string guy, he still, had him kind of winging it a little bit and throwing it around. So, I don't know. If Belichick had gotten in this situation, would they have been done or would they have been able to run the ball?
I think they would have been done.
A lot of people feel like anybody would have been done because if your opponent knows you can't pass.
How could you possibly do anything else? And the Niners defense is set up by their offense and controlling the ball. It's everything that could have possibly went wrong early went wrong. And I just get so annoyed with everyone that's Kyle's he's too conservative in the wrong places, too aggressive in the wrong places. It just boils down to, did it work out? because everybody would have been if they just went into halftime and Josh Johnson took a bunch of knees, everyone would have been bitching that why weren't they more conservative? Or, I mean, why weren't they more
I'll say this. Last week when they lined up with Mitch Wishnowsky on the 38-yard line on 4th and 9, I thought to myself, I would rather them throw a lollipop pass down the field and have it be picked than to punt here. And sure enough, they punted. They punted into the end zone. They picked up less than 20 yards of field position, and they got no chance to continue the drive. I thought that was very conservative for a team that has Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Mitchell, Kittle. I mean, the Niners arguably have some of the greatest collection of weapons that the sport has seen in the last 20, 30 years. And yet he, at times, was very conservative. And then today, he seemed like he kind of was letting Josh Johnson do some things. Like it was like, hey, maybe he just stopped caring today. Maybe he just felt like, you know what, we gotta go for it. We gotta go for it. But,
I think they had great field position a few different times with Josh Johnson, and it's just like the guy, you even before he fumbled it, he's bobbling the ball on every snap. I mean, I guess you could say, why didn't they run McCaffrey out? I mean, wasn't it kind of exciting? Like when that one play when McCaffrey was quarterback when the game was over, I was kind of like, if I was an Eagles fan, I wouldn't necessarily want to face that just because it's so crazy. But
he didn't throw it. He threw it. He looked like, he threw just a wounded duck into the abyss.
Boy,
Josh Johnson. I mean, I hate to say it. I like Josh Johnson. We talked to him the other day. He was terrible.
So,
I mean, come on.
I mean, the how do you feel for this guy Osai for the Bengals? He's going to be like, man.
What happened? Tore his ACL?
No, just he didn't leave the bench for like 10 minutes because
he's the one who pushed Burrow on that run. Which, by the way,
pushed Mahomes.
Pushed Mahomes. By the way, okay, maybe this is like a little bit of a bad take, but with gambling becoming so much more prominent, like, especially in these playoff games when billions of dollars, it seems like, are being bet, you have to be more transparent with the injury report. Horse shit that Mahomes had a high ankle sprain. We've seen a million people with high ankle sprains. You do that. You saw that last run. You physically cannot do that. Physically can't do it. Like he said it was like, it was better. Andy Reid was saying it was better than, the first time he had it done, or it happened to him in like week 1 and he balled out the next week. There's no way that was an actual high ankle sprain. I feel like people just kind of ran with that because it looked bad.
He was limping pretty bad though. But I mean, I remember Klay Thompson did it. He had a high ankle.
A little bit. But okay, also how about there was just a massive obvious hold on that run as well. Of course, that's not called.
Oh yeah, I was on that run.
Which one?
The left tackle was totally.
Oh yeah.
I kept playing it back. Right, I was watching it about 6 times. Just like he just wrapped him around his neck.
How about the intentional grounding they called on Burrow?
Yeah.
Like what the hell?
I mean, every call went against Cincy. It was clear that it was like, the one call, I am so sick of the NFL. The one call that I hate, it could be 3rd and 25, and you have a little hold, and it's an automatic first down. Why is a 5-yard defensive holding automatic first down when the play might even happen, 5-10 yards from the line of scrimmage? It's like, oh, okay, he just got 25. It's automatic first down. They're 3rd and 25. But an offense, it's like
it's a little too. It lends itself a little bit too much to game manipulation.
Yeah,
it does. 100%. Yeah,
I don't like it.
One of the biggest, I guess, one of the biggest knocks on the NFL is they have their regular season standards in which they call games, and then they have their playoff standards in which they call games. So
let them play.
You spend 18 weeks as a fan trying to understand and trying to spot things on the field, and you're like, okay, I can understand what's going on. Then you get into the playoffs, and none of that is called, or you have phantom calls. You're like, well, wait a minute, you let that go on 1st and 10, but now you're calling it on 3rd and 1. What the hell is going on?
I'll tell you the one that was the most offensive one of the year was the New York Giants Washington Commanders Monday night game, where the Giant defender wrapped up the Washington receiver a bear hug in the end zone. It favored the Giants, which had the biggest impact as far as percentage of turnaround on who would make the playoffs. That game had an enormous impact on the Giants making the playoffs. The Giants making the playoffs meant dollars to the NFL because of the market size and the popularity of the New York Giants franchise. So to see a glaring mistake go in favor of a team that that mistake also benefits the company financially is really dubious. It calls the whole thing into huge credibility.
Yeah, and that's
NFL
that's the
definitely has a
break point,
credibility
right?
problem.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, definitely have a credibility problem with the NFL, in my view. I mean, the lack of calls. I mean, Bosa didn't get a sack, the last 4 games? Yet no calls. One call I can recall, one that they called holding on him.
First play of the game against Dallas, they
That
called
was it.
holding
Yeah.
on the tackle.
But the last 3-4 games didn't even hardly have any pressures.
No sacks in the last 2. Eric says 2 playoff games, 0 sacks for both.
Yeah, and I don't think he had a sack in the last game against Arizona either. But no holding calls, just one. I mean, how is that possible to the guy that leads the league in quarterback pressures? And it's such an obvious call when it's right out there on the end, and yet they never call it. But then they conveniently call holding when they want to call holding. It's unbelievable.
To sustain a drive, DJ Venus says Niners down by 2 touchdowns. Kyle continue to call run plays. I know Purdy's hurt, but at some point you need to throw the ball to
He
score.
couldn't throw the ball.
Right.
His arm, he probably, if he tried to throw it, it probably would have tore it even worse, whatever's the issue. He couldn't throw the ball. Do you think, I mean, people, if he could throw the ball, he would have been throwing the ball.
Wait, so what is there any update on his thing? It's like I saw something like about it being similar to Josh Allen.
Possible UCL.
Okay.
Yes, strained UCL. They're going to have an MRI tomorrow.
Okay.
If it's bad, he's going to have Tommy John, which we were talking about earlier, right? A lot about the QB situation. If Purdy's not able to come back next year, what do? Do you bring in Brady, or do you go try and trade for Rodgers?
Run out train Purdy.
Well, if Purdy's not available,
I mean, how long is the recovery for?
Well, if you have Tommy John, you can't probably throw really good for 12 to 18 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Based on a little bit of research here, it looks like it can be surgically repaired without doing Tommy John, because I know Tommy John is specifically, moving a ligament from one part of the body into the elbow. But if he has to go under the knife to get this repaired, it looks like a bare minimum of 9 months.
Oh, that's all of next year, basically. I mean, you're not going to miss all of training camp, come back in September, and be ready to go. At that point, it's going to be somebody else's job, because
Lee City says he says you're not going to convince me that the NFL does not actively influence games to get favored matchups. If the NFL wants specific teams to play in the postseason, they make it happen. It's corrupt.
Well, this is what they do. They don't. It's not like, oh, everyone's like, oh, either NFL's rigged or NFL's not rigged, you idiot. But no, what they do is they place certain emphasis on certain things that usually turn out to benefit the team that they want in the Super Bowl. So they'll, we're not going to call holding, we're not going to call too much holding in this game, and the Chiefs are going to hold a bunch, they're going to hold Nick Bosa, they're whatever. It's all that kind of crap. But
even if they're not influencing the game in that way, having the regular season call versus the playoff call is enough to open the door for speculation.
And then revert back to like regular season ticky-tack bullshit, like in these playoff games. Like, how are you supposed to? It's like, okay, I get it. All right, if we're gonna let things go, okay, cool. Then let's play under the playoff rules. That's fine. But then you can't vacillate in the biggest moments.
Well, what's the deal with you? Look at Vegas. I mean, 49ers, besides the Raiders, been the closest team to Vegas, gets the most bets. The Rams, you could say, well, the Rams are pretty close last year, but there's not a lot of LA Ram fans. Okay. They were gone for how many years? 15, 20 years?
94, yeah, 94 through 2000 and whatever.
Yeah, so over 20 years. So they're gone. So a lot of those people down in Southern California are 49er fans. And so what was the report that somebody from Vegas, one of the casinos, came out and said the Niners winning would be the worst situation for
I saw
for
that
us?
that they would take a bath.
Yeah. So because everybody here locally bets on the Niners, there's so much more on the Niners, so they don't want that. And
But it kind of works both ways because all DraftKings and all of those books in Philly and New Jersey or whatever, all of those East Coast books were just hemorrhaging Eagles money. I heard like that's like their worst case scenario.
well,
Bobby D439 says, not Shanahan's fault. 2, the injury must be serious. Purdy's tough. He played through an oblique at Seattle. How do all these fans forget so fast? Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's gross.
People who rip, if you're ripping Shanahan or Purdy, I think you're missing the boat.
Yeah, it's like, did you not watch the entire year? Like,
This kid had never lost until today.
and it's actually just BS that that's even on his record. But
It
he
really is.
no.
Can you put it on his record?
What?
That was Josh Johnson's loss. Can
Yeah.
you put it on his record?
No, it just goes to the starter.
Which is whack. But at least he had some good stats. Like he was like 4 for 4.
Yeah.
Wait, so that sucks. Wait, so Purdy, like, there's like a good chance Purdy's just not available next year, and then it's just like, what the hell do you do if Trey starts playing D? Oh, God damn it! I can't
Well,
believe it again.
as morbid as it sounds, if you're a Trey Lance fan, this might have been like the best thing for him.
Yeah.
Now the offseason is back up in the air. Who does get that start? I mean, you could just have Purdy sitting on the sidelines. Do you bring him back in? I mean, we do have that golden rule, right? In professional sports, you don't lose your starting job to injury. So was Lance going to come back and get that job anyway? I mean, yeah,
so.
Purdy goes to the Super Bowl, wins that. All right, all bets are off. But now, I mean, you got to think that they're going to put these two kids in camp and let them duke it out, which I think honestly is the best thing for the entire team.
Sure, why not? Purdy's going to beat him out, though. I'm pretty sure of that. Real Freedom Production says the trenches, the 49ers, that's where the real gold is. Y'all forgot.
I mean, the Niners are probably the Niners are the toughest team in the NFL. I don't care if Philly, like, they have the best. They're the toughest team on offense and defense. All of it combined, they're the toughest team in the league. But, like, what the hell can you do?
Well, let's be real frank. Where the Niners really messed this up was losing to the Bears, the Broncos, and the Falcons. Had they won 2 of those 3, they would have been hosting.
Yeah, but also they went like undefeated down the stretch.
Yeah, I know, but you got to win the games you're supposed to win. If you're, this team should have been really a 14 or 15-2 team. I mean,
not really. They lost their starting
Yeah,
quarterback and their number 2 quarterback. The fact that they were 13-4 or 12-4, don't you think that's
yeah, but I mean, I
amazing?
think they didn't have that tough of a schedule, really. I mean, the only game they really got outplayed in all year was Kansas City.
And I will defend that game. They were attached to that game still in the third quarter, and it just kind of all fell apart.
Yeah, and they were hurt that game too. Their defense was really hurt. If you remember, Mooney Ward didn't play. The other corner, Mosley was already out, I think. Wasn't he gone by that time? I don't even think, wasn't Warner or Greenlaw. One of those guys was out. It was bad. But the point is they had a pretty weak schedule, and I'm sorry, you still should have been able to beat Denver and Atlanta with Garoppolo. I mean, the Chicago game was a fluke, but they should have won. They should have. It was
just the rain came at the wrong time.
Yeah, it was a fluke. But I mean, hey, it was a great season. They got all the way to the NFC Championship.
Yeah,
they didn't.
And they found their quarterback.
Yeah, they didn't lose this game, it was like, I think Rye said, it was like a no contest.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, it was like, shoot. I mean, you have no quarterback. Literally, they had no quarterback.
Yeah.
If Purdy was playing, it played out in the way that would have benefited the Eagles. Eagles get up early. Their offensive line, their run game can get going. Niners are on the defenses on the field. Hurts doesn't have to pass, so the pass rushers can get into him. Except for also the offense literally couldn't do anything. So, like, of course, it's going to end up.
I mean, when it got to 7-7, and they were like, and the defense was playing great, I honestly thought to myself, this is going to play out like in Jimmy's hands. Jimmy's coming back for the Super Bowl.
Wait. So I actually
imagine that. Part
of me is like, well, if Purdy is that injured, then maybe we're saving ourselves from just like the saddest Super Bowl of all time. Like if it's like a banged up Jimmy Josh Johnson combo.
Hopefully Purdy's not seriously injured. Rome Dob Upsetter says, go get Anthony Richardson of Florida. A big beast. Yeah. Anthony Richardson is an incredible athlete. Anoop Swaminoth says, we won't win a Super Bowl with Kyle. Time for new leadership.
Why? If you get to an NFC championship, you can win a Super Bowl. It gets to a point where it just turns into coin flips. I think McVay backed his way into a championship last year. Like I didn't feel like he was like particularly spectacular.
How many times did Andy Reid go to the NFC championship and lost? And the AFC championship.
You need a quarterback, and maybe Kyle found his quarterback. 49er Faithful says, as a 49er fan, never know who will be the QB1.
It is kind of weird that the Niners are going to go into another season. If Purdy's not 100%, it's another quarterback, like kind of controversy. Who's QB1?
Well, if he actually is like out for the year injured, then all of a sudden you can talk me into Brady for a year. That makes sense. Brady for a year, then we'll go back to Purdy.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That's kind of my thought too, Rye. I think if he is definitely out for the year, go sign Brady for a year. You have Trade who could learn a lot from Brady, and if Brady's not cutting it or whatever, you got Lance. But I do think that the one thing that I was always upset with, even when the draft came up, because they didn't really have a quarterback, they were dealing with the whole Jimmy stuff. When Jalen Hurts was available in the second round, I was hoping the Niners would trade up for this and grab him, because I really thought he would be the type of quarterback that Kyle could develop and use. And I don't know why they let that go. I really don't. I mean, he was a guy that played really good at Oklahoma and was showing promise. And, I don't
know if he fit Kyle's system.
I mean, Trey's kind of, he plays Trey like he
plays like Trey.
Yeah. I mean, he runs those, those power, drives, and just, I don't understand it. I mean, to me, he was more developed. He was more, had so much more experience than Trey. To not take a Jalen Hurts and then all of a sudden trade up and trade 2 1s and swap your other one to get an inexperienced Trey Lance made no sense to me. If you were going to pass on Hurts.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Dan. Given the roster and how many tools or how many weapons they have, they're in a win now window, right? Why take a project? Why spend that much to take a project? I mean, if you're the second they made that trade, whoever they picked in that slot was doomed. The expectations were too high. If you didn't step in and you didn't win them a Super Bowl almost right out, or immediately set the standard, like, no, this is the guy. If Lance couldn't come out of the gates firing in year 2 at least, he was cooked. Now this situation, I'm on the opposite end of the Brady train. No, don't go get him. You're actually in a perfect situation to find out what you got in Trey. There is no replacement for game time experience. Let's remember that Trey Lance, the last time he played football consistently was 2019. Right. Do we need any more example than what we saw with Deshaun Watson this year? That enough time away from the game, I don't care how good you were or how good you think you are, you're going to be terrible. You're going to be playing at a completely different speed than everybody else in this league. So do they just roll the dice and throw him out on the field? I think that's probably the best thing for the organization to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to find out. They're going to have to find out.
You got to find out what he is. I will say this, though. I think there's such a desire for quarterback talent, and there's so much demand and so little supply that I think that they will get a tempting offer this offseason. I don't know if they'll make it because, as Danny said, there's a pretty punitive cap hit that's attached. But the idea that he's not worth anything, wrong. No, he's still worth quite a bit. Fish and Chips says players saved Kyle's job recently. CMC, Purdy, and now Debo. I don't know about that. There's all this whole Kyle's on the hot seat thing is just a total fictional made up thing. Nobody who with any credibility has ever stated that. Jamela 13 says, thank you to the crew for the great content all season long. Well, thank you, Jamela.
Hey, Larry, on that point of Kyle on the hot seat, where is the level to where the organization starts to question things? Because if we were to wind this back 20, 25, 30 years, do you think DeBartolo just sits and lets Kyle get to this level year after year and just not make it and have yet another reason why he didn't win the Super Bowl? Do you think it's rings or go home? At what point does the organization say, okay, Kyle, we just can't keep going to this, the championship game?
It's a different time. We're in the salary cap era. Everything's more even now. It's harder to have Eddie D back in the day spent more than everybody, and he expected to win. Well, you can't run an organization the way he ran it back then, because you're in a capped sport. You can't get that kind of an advantage. So I think, it is interesting though. I think he would be holding Kyle and Lynch to high standards, but I think Jed and Dr. John York also hold those guys to high standards. I get the sense that those guys feel like some desperation to win a Super Bowl, and that's probably a healthy thing, to be honest.
Do you guys think that? I know Adam Peters was interviewed or requested to be to go somewhere. I can't remember which team, but do you think John Lynch maybe goes to the booth to Amazon for the big money, and Adam Peters is staying to take over what Lynch, because he turned down?
Murmurs about that?
What's that?
Are there murmurs about that?
No, I'm just thinking because Adam Peters turned down whatever position he.
Well, Adam Peters is from here, so I think it's reasonable that he's going to stick it out. But as far as Lynch, I think Lynch wants to finish the job. As soon as Lynch wins that Super Bowl, I think he's riding off into the sunset.
Yeah, and this is why I know if Purdy's not available, they're going to make a bigger splash at quarterback, I think. I don't think they just say, with this roster, Trey, it's your team, or Jimmy, we're bringing you back. I think it's Brady, Lamar, Rodgers, something along that lines. It's somebody who's been in the trenches and done it.
So, just to let you know, even TB12 will get hurt soon too. I mean, Tom, Brady sucked this year because he didn't have any protection. He didn't have the things that he needs. He didn't have his tight end, Kittle. He didn't have his nickelback, McCaffrey. He didn't have his whole
Debo.
If he was on the Niners, it would be no problem. He gets rid of the ball before he gets hit, and he's not going to take hits really till like high leverage games.
Okay, fine. I'm on board with Brady if he just comes here and teaches all these quarterbacks.
It'd be one year.
Kyle, just to say, and just jump down into the pocket, do the old Brady flop into the pocket. Don't hit me. Please leave me alone. If he could teach our quarterbacks that and teach the value of that to Kyle, maybe we have a quarterback for longer than 12 weeks.
Plus get TB12 in there.
Yeah. Glory says Josh Johnson definitely validated Purdy. Well, I'll definitely, people appreciated Purdy probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
Johnson came in, couldn't get plays called on time.
The thing about Purdy that was so good is he extended plays. he didn't. I mean, today is sad. We didn't even get a chance to see him.
It's
We
bullshit.
we didn't even get a chance to see what he would do against that fierce pass rush. You know, the one time, I mean, he stood in there in the pocket. He saw it coming. It was going to be a big throw downfield. They had it set up, but that's one of those ones you probably learn from and maybe duck or do something to escape, because, man, that was tough. And I'm sure that he was going for the arm intentionally to knock the ball loose.
Mhm.
Oh, on the
Yeah.
Greenlaw one?
No, on the play
that
Brock got
Purdy
hurt.
Oh,
Reddick.
yeah. But I mean, how about the Greenlaw punching at the thing? And it was like he was just punching at the ball.
He 3 times, and he never hit the guy's arm. He hit the ball. It was
No.
pretty good.
Why-
Pretty good punches.
Ryan, to your
Another
point
bad
earlier about these horrible calls in the playoffs, that was one I pointed at. I was like, why are you calling that?
Yeah,
We've seen that hundreds of times. Now it's a foul?
I know. It's wild.
Okay.
Joe Young says to these fire Kyle knobs, what's the alternative?
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, you'd have to
Did I
trade
say that out loud? I'm
first
sorry.
round pick and then
Multiple picks.
multiple first round picks.
You know what was
Yeah.
going to be the worst thing? I was watching the news that came on Fox News locally after the Niner game. They were showing Sean Payton walking with Bidwell. He was interviewing down here in Arizona today. Was it today or earlier in the week? But that would not be good to have Sean Payton in the same division.
No. Glory says, what are the chances D'Amico stays? Rosters do matter.
And I don't like.
I think
Sanchez off the
D'Amico's
market.
gone for sure. I think Houston wants him. He's not. Denver wants him. I think he's getting a gig. Fish and Chip says, when is Kyle's expiration date, or is it rinse and repeat? Oh, he's a made man. I mean, I think he signed a 6-year deal, and then 3 years in, he signed a new 6-year deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, 3 out of 4 years in the conference championship is just nothing to sneeze about, especially with 2 different quarterbacks. And honestly, he's been competitive down to the wire in all of them except for today, and today wasn't even a football game.
And his offense scores points.
Yeah.
You know, it produces points. And now with Brock Purdy, you know, I think he's somewhat vindicated, right? I'm sure Kyle probably thinks, yeah, hey, there is a young quarterback out there that doesn't need a ton of tutelage. It doesn't have to be 40. It doesn't have to be on his 9th team, that we can get in there, plug in, and he can run my system. So, and you know, I think Brock Purdy's a special player, but at least they found somebody this year.
Yeah, I just don't have a good feeling about this injury. The fact that his fingers, he couldn't even feel them. I mean, sometimes that you hit the funny bone, it comes back, but for that long, for 3 hours, and to feel like, I think that's a pretty serious injury. The torque that was on that, to hit that, I think he did some ligament damage. I think I hope everything turns out great and he's going to be okay. And it just needs, 6-8 weeks.
You never know.
weeks of
Sometimes they
rest.
look worse than they are. Sometimes it
Yeah,
doesn't look
hopefully
like
it's just
much.
rest, or if surgery can correct it where you don't need Tommy John. But it is one of the reasons why I was saying about next year, no reason to discuss who's going to be the 23 quarterback. Wait till the season's over, because now we don't know. I mean, it looked like Purdy's job, but now it's like, who's it going to be? I mean, we're going to find out where Purdy's at in the next week. I mean, we may even find out as early as Tuesday what's happening with it.
Did you guys see Staley dunk on Kayvon Thibodeau?
No.
Thibodeau tweeted, way this game looks, we might be better than the 49ers. 3 laughing faces. And then Staley quote tweeted it and said, you're a flash player who gets bodied by average tackles. Don't let the New York media affect you too much. And then Thibodeau said back, who are you, bro? Just
your worst nightmare. Glory says, I vote TB12. Team needs culture change and leadership. Jaguayo says Niners got beat by a better team. Let's get better. I don't even know if that's really the case.
Better team.
I
NorCal
would agree
Dan
with
says
that.
I was a college pitcher and as a kid fractured my growth plate. My elbow was on fire. If you tore your UCL and can't grip it, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest frustration about today. We got no answers. We have no closure on the season. We're just left with a, big whiff, and then we'll see you in 7 months.
Right.
Oh, are you
Well,
kidding
what
me?
stunk was it started out like, oh no, Warner's down, second play of the game. I'm thinking, and then Brock goes down, and then Boza gets hit on the sideline. And I'm like, what's going on here? This game's like everybody's going, talk about, your quarterback and then your two best defensive players look like they're going. All of a sudden, fortunately, those guys came back, but losing Brock that early, it was kind of like, man, we didn't even get a chance to throw a punch.
I know. It was the worst football game I've seen in years because it was so much buildup and it was so over so early. And anybody who knows the talent knows, oh my God, the Niners have no chance at all to win. It was just simply a matter of how bad would they lose. And it was just to see the season go down the toilet like that is just so rough. Bruce says sucks for the season to end this way. Freak injury, healthy Purdy's it's a closer game. Not guaranteed the Niners win. Need pass rush help opposite Bosa. And they have a lot of pass rushers. Abukam had a pretty good year, but you can always use more.
Look the same when the Eagles can just keep running the ball and they're not forced into passing situations. And the same thing with the other side of the ball. The offensive line, of course, is not going to look great when they literally know you're running it every time. Like, what are you supposed to do there? Like, they couldn't even all these reverses to Debo. It's like nothing works because they just know it's going to be a run.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the game, they were literally putting 11 people in the box.
Yeah.
They weren't even covered. They were like, Ayuk, who? Okay, let's just get in the box and smash somebody. Okay, after Purdy went out, no, and then after that fumble, it clearly became practice for Philadelphia. And the Niners were doing their best, but it was not a game at that point. I can't recall a game like this ever to where it was so clearly a no contest so early in that I was texting family, just like, hey, how you doing? I guess I'm sitting here doing nothing.
The only precedent is like, okay, maybe Mahomes gets injured and his backup has to come, but at least it's a freaking backup quarterback. This is a fourth string guy. Like Josh Johnson is the guy, like if you need a spot start because you have 5 quarterbacks injured in the middle of the season and he's not even on your team, you bring him in and he just starts that week. Like that.
Well, he was on the practice squad of the Broncos. I mean, he wasn't even a guy that made an NFL, 53-man roster or anything. This is a guy that's been, 13 teams, been in the league, 10 years?
They should have kept Jacob Eason.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you can't tell me that there's not more quarterbacks in the league that are able to run an offense and throw the ball down the field. I mean, I know Josh Rosen's not that great, but why is he a guy like that, who's actually, fairly decent? I mean, he's not, but he should be a guy on the practice squad. Again, I go back to this NFL thing. I literally am hoping that this happens in the Super Bowl on the biggest stage. I want to see no quarterback available for one of these teams and have the NFL change the rules so that they allow for a third quarterback to be on a roster that can be
That's
activated.
what it would take.
Yeah.
That's what it would take. Anoop Swamanath says Kyle can't coach situational football. Win a Super Bowl like that? No.
I don't think anyone could do anything with this situation.
I don't. I can't. Yeah. I know there are people that want to blame Kyle, and there's people that want to bury Purdy, but this was just every bit of adversity outside of a blimp crashing into the stadium happened today for the 49ers. I mean, they lost their starting quarterback. They had all kinds of penalties. They had 3 turnovers. They made crucial mistakes.
I'm blaming you
yet
and
they
Rye,
still-
Larry.
yeah, yet
I'm
they
blaming you
still
guys
really
because
had
you
a
guys were going to
shot.
come
Yeah, I
down
mean-
and terrorize El Boca Vista. That's what the problem was, man. It was like when you said 2 days ago, we're coming and we're going to terrorize El Boca Vista and we're going to just tear this place apart. That's what did it, man.
Seriously, somebody called the HOA and said, could you get Dan Cochimilio's friends to experience some adversity? 49er Faithful says 3 hours later, I'm still painful loss to a worse team. I agree. I
also
49ers were the better team.
I'm
Well,
more getting a little triggered on Twitter. Just going back to the other game, like Kelsey like the second Kelsey is at the mic, he's like, oh, Burrowhead, oh yeah, Burrowhead, oh yeah, and then like Pat Mahomes Senior is like smoking cigars, and he's like, I'm smoking on that Joe Burrow. It's just like, why are you punching down? You guys are the Chiefs. You've been into the conference championship for the last like 6 years. Mahomes, you won 1 Super Bowl and you didn't even play that well for the first 3 quarters. So like Joe Burrow is a dog. He has a much less talented roster, worse coaching, and he's like beat you 3 out of 4 times. And I thought he played a gutsier performance today. So like, chill out.
Glory says
Yeah.
Grant blames Kyle for having Croft block Reddick. Well,
All right.
You could have
All right.
stopped at Grant blames Kyle. Period. You
I
didn't
mean,
need
yeah.
anything else from there.
I got the sense that Grant was going after Kyle last week a little bit. But you know what? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame Kyle on that. I blame Lynch. I mean, to me, the backup tight ends they're like George is a 1, right? And not only is he a 1, he's a 1-1. Like he's an all-pro player or a Pro Bowl caliber player, and he's as good a tight end as you have in the league. But the second and third and fourth guys, Werner and Dwelly, those guys are not number 2s. Those guys are more like 4s. And that's why I was saying Michael Mayer would be a great pick, because this team could use a legitimate number 2 tight end with some size and some athleticism, and they don't have that. And there's a lot of 2 tight end sets. So there's a Croft or a Dwelly or whatever out there, and these guys, Mayer would be just a severe upgrade from those guys. I was up late last night and I was up early this morning. So guys, I'm going to play the spots here and call it a night. Good stuff today. Digital Drew will give you a final word before we say goodbye to you. We appreciate you joining the stream from Chicago.
Yeah.
You got a final word on this one? It was painful to watch. We've kind of expressed so many of the feelings that I'm sure many people in the audience are feeling exactly those same thoughts. But one last thought on your way out here?
Yeah, this game was just vapor. It happened. It was painful to watch. You're left with nothing. We got no answers. A worse team is going to the Super Bowl yet again. And here we are just left to think about the offseason. Go Giants. Yay. I guess.
What it sounds like Ron Burgundy. I'm Ron Burgundy. Remember that with the question mark at the end?
Man.
If whatever you put on the teleprompter, Burgundy will read. I'm Ron Burgundy. Oh,
Go
that
Giants.
was classic.
Yeah.
All right, Digital Drew, you're the man. It was good talking to you. We'll do these live streams. We'll keep doing them in the off season, man. We expect you to jump in.
Oh, I'll be here for Warriors and Giants talk.
Awesome.
No
man.
worries.
Have a great night.
Cool.
See you,
Digital
man.
Drew checking in from Chicago. Let's do this. Let's play a couple spots. We'll come back. We'll have a couple final laughs.
Yeah, kill a
On the
couple of
Krueg
those comments,
show.
Rye, in the chat.
Next. Wrong spot.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Casera and the good people at Casera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Casera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
Hey Pasquale, Dan Coach Emilio here for the Krueg Show. Just picked up for the very first time some of your New York style Italian sausage here at Sam's Club in Arizona. My wife just cooked it, and I'm about to take a bite. Man, this is good. Pasquale, when you winked and said you guaranteed we'd love it, you're right. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Best sausage I've ever tasted. Thank you, Pasquale.
All right, coming down the home stretch. No, it's not raw sausage. Someone said, is Danny eating raw sausage? Dan will not eat raw sausage. He will not do a live stream without eating, but he
Every
will
time
not
someone thinks is raw. I said, my
It's
wife
not raw.
cooked it.
Danny had raw sausage in the bag, but then had taken some out and cooked it.
Right.
He didn't eat the raw sausage.
Oh my goodness.
That would be awesome if you did eat just raw.
No, I'm not even touch that. Hey, it would be gag on
have a little ringworm.
I was thinking about this during the break about the backup, to the backup, to the backup, to the backup. When they picked Josh Johnson, and I know looking back at your interviews and listening to guys talk about bringing the right type of guy into the locker room, I'm wondering if that had something to do with it over a Josh Rosen, because Rosen was in the 49ers camp for a while as a backup.
Definitely. Rosen would not fit in the locker room at all.
That's probably what it is, because Rosen would fit more with what Purdy does as a backup than with Josh Johnson. But character-wise, Rosen's kind of like
Kyler.
He's a malcontent kind of guy.
Joshua Peppers says, I don't blame Kyle for everything, but I do blame him for poor game management. Poor game.
Wait a minute.
I guarantee you Joshua was listening to Grant. He was over on Grant's channel. Grant's blaming Kyle for poor game management. Joshua is blaming
poor game
Shanahan
management.
for poor game management.
Well, first of all, if you're going to come on with a logo like that with a mask on, no, really. I mean, game management. What was he supposed to do? His quarterback went down in the first
seriously,
third, fourth play of the game.
Grant, the funny thing is Grant actually tweeted something super reasonable, and I tweeted back at him like, that's pretty much how I feel. He said like I'm guessing he probably has ramped up into some takes, but originally he said the Eagles aren't that good and Jalen Hurts is overrated. The 49ers could have beaten them if Brock Purdy stayed healthy. The 49ers should be better next season. They just need to start fast, take care of business, and get the 1 seed. Reasonable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
G-Code Travels Vlog. Does Ryan's performance hurt his head coach hiring?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get the job.
I don't know. Yeah. G Martinez. Larry said if it gets to the fourth quarterback, it's over anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've been saying that.
Fourth quarterback. I mean, yeah.
What about Lowell Cone? I mean, I'm sorry. I enjoy the Cones, but he said people ask me if Kyle Shanahan is a great coach. I can't give him that yet, but he is a good coach. Where he's an all-time great is getting quarterbacks hurt. 3 starting quarterbacks this season and 1 backup. True greatness. What the hell even is that? That's just stirring the
salty.
pot.
Salty.
Yeah, blaming Kyle for getting the quarterbacks hurt when he's throwing in the pocket. I mean, yeah,
so a lot of quarterbacks got hurt this year.
Yeah, I mean it's a dangerous sport. You're looking at guys running 4.40s at you that are 50 to 80 pounds, sometimes heavier than you, and they're coming at you full speed. I mean,
Kai Too Nice says, if Brock and Trey Lance compete, who do you think wins?
It just depends. If Brock's healthy, he's going to win.
Yeah, if Brock is 100%, I would think Brock would, because he's more accurate. He can run Kyle's offense better than we've seen really anybody since 2017 run Kyle's offense. if Brock doesn't go down today, that would have been a heavyweight title fight to remember. It would have been a great
It was
game.
supposed to be.
MF. Josh Johnson is the Stewie Fairchild of the Niners.
Poor Josh Johnson. I mean, I felt bad.
He wanted out of there today, man.
Wait, so Larry, we're gonna do like final media this week, right? And it's just gonna be all sad, and like there's gonna be guys that aren't gonna come back, and
I don't know. Is there going to be a final media?
I think there's like final media. I mean, I don't know. Going.
Man,
Maybe some of the interviews will be good. We'll get a few good ones.
Maybe, Jimmy Ward. I don't know what his take was in the postgame. I didn't hear it, but somebody mentioned that he's out of here or something because he may have. I know he's a free agent. He has said the Niners earlier in the year. He made a comment like Niners may not, want me back or something. But I could see Jimmy Ward moving on as a free agent. They're not going to be able to sign everybody.
He's awfully good.
Coaching
staff loves him.
I hope they do bring him back, but I don't know. I don't know what how they're going to do it. I mean, you got if he doesn't come back, who takes over the nickel? Womack?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they need corners, man. They need to go get corners. They need DBs and O linemen, and maybe another interior rusher. And
I thought Kinlaw had a pretty bad day. Granted, the circumstances weren't great, but I thought he kind of got. I mean, it's a bad matchup for him with all those. I mean, those guys just get so low, and
it was not. It was he didn't show out too much today. It was it was just one of those things. There's nothing really to analyze in today's game. You just have to say it was not a. If it was a street brawl, you'd say it wasn't a fair fight because they got sucker punched. It's like
he got hit. Purdy got hit with a crowbar, and what I mean.
It
was the worst champion. It was the worst championship game I've ever seen.
It was over before it started. Really, I mean, the fact that how many plays did Purdy? I can't even remember now. Was it 4 plays?
Something like that.
He had a sweet pass to Kittle. I just am so annoyed because now there's just gonna be so much shit talking from Philly, and I'm already seeing it everywhere. They're already being so defensive and insecure because people are like, oh, you haven't beaten anybody.
They're gonna lose the Super Bowl though.
I don't know if they are. I don't know. I don't want either of these teams to win the Super Bowl. That's the problem.
Kansas City's better. Kansas City's going to win. I think this is Mahomes' second ring right here. We'll see. But I think I'll definitely take Kansas City and points. Absolutely. I like Kansas City on the money line. All right, guys. Good day. End of the season for the Niners. Got a chance to go on 95.7 the game this morning. So played the Steve Young interview, played the Brandon Ayuk interview, had fun with Lo Neal. Got a chance to, anticipate a great playoff game. Sat down to watch it, and then it just all came apart at the seams. And it was just like it instantly went to like the worst football viewing day of the year. Because it would be a one thing to lose, but I just wanted to see a game. And we didn't even really get to see a game. We did the Eagles won, and Niners just literally ran out of players. I mean, I haven't seen that in a long time, but that's what happened. I mean, could you imagine if the Western Conference Finals came down to Ty Jerome?
I know. That's what it was.
Because Curry's hurt, Clay's hurt, Wiggins is hurt. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it's just it was a very bizarre year for the Niners to have a third string quarterback that was good enough to get him to this game. And then to lose him in the championship game, one step from the Super Bowl, and then to go on and have your defense still kind of rise up, keep you in the game, really leaves you with this idea that they would have won if Purdy had been healthy. And obviously that's not a very popular take. So just frustrating, very frustrating day. Nick J says, who the F allowed a coach to put Croft on Reddick one-on-one. That was atrocious. Yeah.
I mean, is that even? We don't even know if that's Shanahan. What if it's the offensive line coaches or like who freaking knows?
Yeah.
Well,
could have
they
been
did
somebody
have-
could have been somebody got hit and he was the next man up. I mean, he's made some big plays for them this year. But yeah, no, I hear you. It's a low hanging fruit. It's easy to gravitate towards. It's easy to spit out. It's easy to remember and throw out on a talk show tomorrow. But the reality is, when they lost Purdy, the game was over.
It was over.
Vicky Pellich, excellent Steve Young interview, Larry. Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was over. It was over as soon as he went down. But that is, unfortunately, that's part of sports. It's just one of those things. I mean, injuries are.
It's like the
injuries usually determine a champion. It really does.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, the Rams didn't have a single injury all of last year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Warriors' runs; they were fortunate. Many times they were playing teams that were missing their guys. I mean, I'm talking mostly 2015. I mean, their first one, they missed a lot of different guys, and it happened last year. Ja Morant went out. It's just going to always will be a part of sports that injuries. That's why it's so hard to actually predict week to week. Like forecasting going forward, who's going to be in this or who's going to be in that, because you don't know who's going to get hurt.
Well, and here's the other thing. It's a big question that I'm sure people will be debating in the next 24, 48 hours. Was this a good year for the Niners?
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people that will say it wasn't, from the standpoint of they got to the NFC Championship game. They wanted to win the Super Bowl. They've got a number of guys in their window to win the title. They have a deep roster and they didn't get it done. But I would say it's an undeniable good year because they had, without a first-round draft choice, an incredible draft haul, and they located Purdy. That right there is already a pretty good year. I think they're set up nicely with depth to have one of the NFL's deeper rosters in the next 3 to 5 years. And I think if they can, make a couple nice moves this offseason, they could be the team to beat going into next year. I really do believe that. It's obviously a lot of it's predicated on the quarterback.
It was an awesome year. 12 wins in a row, highest point differential in the NFL, third string quarterback, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, what a story. He's still equal to Jalen Hurts in playoff victories. They each have 2. He's got more playoff victories than Dak Prescott. This was a phenomenal year. It just didn't end well. I mean, you literally had an airplane going without a pilot today. I mean, there was nobody to fly the dang plane.
Robert Boyd says we need a better right tackle. Yeah. I think right tackle will definitely be a need spot going forward for sure. All right, guys, good stuff. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Hey, by the way, if you're one of the 600 people still in the chat, hit like and subscribe. If you hit like, that helps the algorithm, helps people find us. And if you hit subscribe, that just alerts you every time we go live on a live stream. Just looking at our YouTube studio number, we just got to 12,000 yesterday, and we are today at 12,615. So we're racing through 1,200 on the way to 1,300, or 12,000 on the way to 13,000. So if you're one of the 600 plus people in the chat and you've yet to subscribe, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome.
They're saying Dan and Ryan stay on. Who said that? Somebody did. Who said that? GT was it? I just saw. Oh, senior.
We're going to get Josh Johnson to come and relieve this.
Yeah.
Josh.
Rye got in late, so maybe you guys do want to stay on. Do you guys want to stay on and keep talking? If you guys do.
Somebody throw in
highlights.
Let's hear from the chat. If they want us to stay in, throw us a bone.
Why don't you do some video calls?
I'm down for that. Let me just grab some agua.
Okay.
Some agua, and then I'm down for some video calls. I mean,
MF says stay on. Sure, we'll stay on for a little bit.
You guys,
we'll mop it up and have some fun. And who knows? Maybe I'll pull out some raw sausage, huh?
Guys,
From
have a
the
good night.
fridge.
Night, Larry. Yeah, I cannot believe. So were you guys I guess you guys both have TVs by the setup, so you can just watch. The game.
I'm sitting in my recliner chair, my rocking recliner, because in front of the TV. I wasn't going to sit over, at the table so, I was bummed because I went in the live bet and took the Bengals at plus 260.
Yeah.
I thought, oh man, I like the Bengals. They'll win this game, but NFL had other
Oh yeah, no, I
reasons.
smashed the Bengals second half line because I was just like, there's no way, there's no way. But then, I mean, when they scored the field goal at the end of the half, I got a little nervous. But ultimately, I just didn't feel. I don't know. It's always nice when you see a team and you're just like, wow, what a great team! Like that team is. It just felt like we got cheated. Like this Eagles Niners game should have been the NFC version of Bengals Chiefs. It should have came down to the wire. It should have been, a hard, fought physical game. I now in that Airbnb. Do we go to the Super Bowl still? I don't know.
I think this team was so confident. I mean, listen to Kyle after the game. Reporters were asking him questions. They were so ready. They felt so
that every single one of them thought there was no way they weren't going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, this was a team that had the most talent, I believe, on both sides of the ball, the best 22 guys to go out there. And, even special teams, Wisnowski and Gould.
Wisnowski was a baller, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff.
It was.
Are you set up?
We got to call it Jeff.
Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I just wanted to, thank you guys for a great year. And also, obviously the latest Shanahan choke was not challenging that call, but also a front office choke too. We all know that D'Amico is going to get a head coaching job probably tomorrow. And for the Niners not to have had Fangio wrapped up, ready to go is.
Oh, you can't tell me that McDaniels didn't snake Fangio away. I felt like
he did.
Yeah,
but
did he sign with Miami, Fangio?
Yeah,
he did today.
Oh wow!
But they should have been prepared for that.
You're right.
I mean, they had him on contract this year. He was an advisor, and I don't understand why. They didn't anticipate that coming. It seems like another boneheaded decision, and it's no wonder this regime hasn't won a championship.
I mean, it just makes it all worse because it's like now all of a sudden all of this crap starts falling down, and it's like, all right, we're losing. Not only did they lose in the worst fashion possible, that was like just the most unsatisfying thing ever. Losing D'Amico, gonna lose a bunch of guys that we've been watching play for a lot of years. Don't know what the hell's happening with quarterback. Who knows what's happening in the front office?
Who's out there? Who else is out there as defensive coordinators? I thought there was one other one that was out there that was.
I mean, there's definitely.
Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith is available.
I'd go get Brian Flores.
Oh, you think he'd be? I mean, if Brian Flores is down, let's do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that
absolutely.
would fit their style. Like, bring in, also just the fact that, like, another black coach, like. I mean, another third round pick or whatever.
Absolutely, bring him in, get, and then when he gets another head coaching job down the road because of the success he would have in the system, they just keep racking up, those conditional draft picks. Those what are they called? The not conditional. What are their compensatory?
Yeah, they have about 40 third round picks this year. So. And another thing, guys, I mean, this is exactly why you keep Trey Lance on his rookie deal.
Yes.
I mean, Kyle hasn't kept a quarterback healthy, gone with one guy since 19. Of course, that was, we went to the Super Bowl and we should have won.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy was like, didn't he have like a stretch where maybe he had like a high ankle or something?
That was 20.
That was 20.
Yeah.
Maybe in 18, he was knocked out early.
Yeah, 18 was the year he did the ACL, right?
Yeah, that was a long year. That's when I believe we got to know Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard weren't.
I'm so with you though, Jeff. Like, I know it's like kind of good fodder to talk about trades, and you even see it with the Warriors. It's like, we need to trade White. If we don't see him on the court, let's trade him. What can we get right now for the? And it's like,
Not much.
not much. We like him more than everybody else. Same thing with Trey Lance. I don't think there's going to be some magical, nice first round, middle of the round pick out there for him. And why the hell? There was like 65 quarterbacks that started this year. Like, now add Josh Johnson to that. So roll with Purdy and Trey Lance. That's sweet.
Yeah, on rookie deals, absolutely. Yeah. And then draft 2 with 2 of your many third-round picks.
Just a fact.
And you'll probably need more.
Yeah.
So, anyways, guys, thanks for everything this year.
Yeah, hey, yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for checking in, and we'll start the off season here in a couple of weeks, and
Jesus, I don't want to
see where things go.
You a big, Giants fan or Warriors fan as well?
Oh yeah, and unfortunately an A's fan. I could go on for days about John Fisher needing to play on the freeway. That'd be good.
I have a buddy who's in Dave Cavill's front office, and it just sounds like an absolute shit show.
It looks like it. Yeah, I'm a diehard, and I mean, it's going to take a lot for me to get out to the Coliseum this year. It's just so. I mean, they could have built a stadium in the Coliseum by now, and it wasn't a bad stadium before Mount Davis went up.
Yeah,
even if they tore it down and rebuilt on that spot, if they weren't going to get the
there's so many. I mean, there's so many. They don't even get me started on the A's, man. It's just why, and then you bring in a 33-year-old DH/first baseman, great, on $3 million, and trade Cole Irvin for nothing.
You're giving me you get like the Sunday scaries when it's like, oh god, it's getting late, and now I have to go. Work's coming up. Yeah. I'm getting the scaries for like the Giants season and even the Warriors. The way things are kind of like the turmoil. Cy got in my head totally when he was talking about like the Bob Myers situation and Draymond feeling like I just it's gonna be. It always feels so hard to get back into Warrior the run of the Warriors.
Hey Jeff, are you on Twitter?
No, I got banned for saying some stuff about John Fisher.
Oh. Okay. Well, hey, maybe you can. My phone number is in the ad there, when we run the ads. Give me a text. I want to run something by you about the A's. So
got it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
That's a personal touch.
All right. Thank you. Where is it? It's in the chat.
It's in the ads that run on the.
Okay.
Scroll through when we do the ads. We just ran them about 15 minutes ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send you a text.
Send me a text. All right, Jeff.
Right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Stay in, you fat bastards. Hey, Zed. That's mean.
We got a chat actually from Super Chat there from Brandon. It looks like I don't have the controls with me like before here.
Oh, is it Brandon?
Yeah, Brandon.
I'm gonna be honest. I had hope to the bitter and even bitter end, even when they were making silly comments like put CMC in at quarterback. Ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. I started to talk myself. Once it got so ridiculous, I did in my mind think like, okay, if they're only down 7, do some shenanigans with the McCaffrey. I think that as soon as they scored that second, I mean, they scored 2 touchdowns in like a minute and a half, and then it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. The killer was the real turning. I mean, the first one obviously Purdy. I mean, obviously you lose Purdy, you go from, let's say, making the odds 50-50. You're down to like 10% chance.
Oh yeah.
Then when it was like 14-7 and they had the ball and Johnson fumbled the snap. And then Philly scored. It dropped down to like 1% probably.
Didn't it feel like when he fumbled the snap? Like in my mind, I was like,
just dive on it.
But I was like, oh, okay, but he got it right.
Yeah.
So
I was like, he didn't even aggressively jump on it. It was like
all 2 fish and chips. There definitely was a cat on this. I heard Jeff like had a cat purring in the background or something.
So, man, I tell you, it was, sometimes actually a loss like today, in some ways, is easier to swallow because you know that it just wasn't meant to be. You just go, there's no chance. But it's also frustrating at the same time because you wanted to see a good game,
and we wanted to see, like, obviously, like, all right, one game isn't everything, but we all wanted to see how Purdy would do in the pressure in the link. And I swear to God, Jalen Hurts would have folded. I think that I thought Purdy was going to come back in at halftime and like be kind of okay.
He did not have that great of a game, Hurts. I mean, he missed some long passes. They were containing him. They had a really good defensive scheme built up on him, to keep him from running effectively. They were not crashing in. They were staying wide so that if he tried to run, he couldn't get outside. I just thought, they had the two really bad plays on the touchdowns where they were able to just run it right off the the A and B gap there. That was poor design there on the defense, but it was like, dang, and then the penalties, like, didn't they? Oh, and how close was it to getting Hurts for a safety? Bosa had him wrapped up.
Oh, so close,
man. And then there was so many I mean, they looked like they just missed the block on the punt, on that.
I know.
Then they had the ball in great field position and couldn't score.
They had it in great field position a few times.
Yeah. They just didn't have a quarterback.
No, he should have gone Teddy two gloves. I don't know why he didn't just throw another glove on at this, like.
Yeah.
Jay says, let's call it Greenlaw. Guy's a complete idiot on the field. Clearly doesn't know how to contain his stupid personal fouls. It's tough because, the D'Amico just keeps telling these guys to play fast. And that's how they.
What did Greenlaw do? You talking about the punching of the ball?
Punching, he had the face mask. I mean,
that was such a
incredible.
In full speed, though, he's wrapping up. He let off right away. I mean, they're going to call it, but it wasn't an egregious face mask.
What happened is the defense had all this pressure on them because it was like they needed to create a turnover. They needed to. So they had to be a little bit reckless in order to try and do that. And they were getting frustrated because every time they would get a freaking awesome stop, it would end up being a penalty.
Yeah, that was a bogus call, in my opinion, on Jimmy Ward. That did not affect the play.
Oh, that was horse.
Did not affect the play. It was he spun him around, he was within 5 yards.
Well, didn't it feel like that they were calling like a lot of deep? Also, Greg T, I see you in the green room. We got you. We'll get you in a second.
They can call what they want when they want. That's the whole thing.
They can, but it sucks because it seems like, I mean, maybe it was not like, super favorite. Maybe that's just how they were going to call it all game. But the problem is the Niners never got to get into a drop back passing game, so they never got to get the benefit of it.
Oh, man.
The only thing they got was, I do think that punt probably hit the wire.
Oh, yeah. That was.
But I would have been like really pissed if they gave that to him.
Yeah, fortunately, there was no, view of that because the camera is the camera.
Yeah,
it's pointing down, and no other cameras on the wire. Like it's above, but you can't zoom in and really see if it hit it.
And then what the hell is up with what I don't understand the disparate reports that like the NFL theoretically could have just easily overturned that catch. The original catch, the fourth down.
Oh yeah, the drop by Devontae.
What's the deal there? Like, why does the NFL sometimes interfere, sometimes doesn't?
Well, what irritates me, Rye, on that is they had the angle, all right, because a camera there's a camera operator that had that angle. Why is that camera operator? My question is that camera operator working for Fox or is he working for the NFL? Because if he's working for the NFL, he should be able to say, pop up to the, somewhere up in the booth.
To New York,
I've got a spot. I've got a spot that shows that ball hit the ground.
Well, and also it's like it was so clearly because when I first saw it, I was like, I was waiting for the Tony Romo. No, Jim. But instead, they just showed they like clearly showed the two angles that didn't show the ball, and it kind of got me thinking like, ooh, are they trying to, just in case they don't really want to show it, they don't want to
Yeah, conspiracy, maybe.
conspiracy. Let's see what Greg has to say. Greg, my man.
Hey guys. I'm still mad, so
let it out.
Let it out. Let her rip.
The biggest thing that I'm mad about was, why do we go through so many quarterbacks? Like, we've gone through 4 in 1 year. That seems like a lot to me. Maybe it's not. Maybe everybody's going through 4, which I don't think so. That makes me mad. That makes it so. When you guys said earlier that people are blaming Kyle, I think he's something about Grant or whatever.
Yeah,
I like Grant, but I have not listened to him today because he makes me mad.
Oh yeah,
so I haven't listened to him. But I actually agree with him. Some of that there's something there. I don't know if how you fix it, but there's something there. You don't think so?
I will say Tom Brady, I'm not really that on board with Tom Brady coming over unless Purdy is injured. But the one thing that Brady will bring is he brings the TB12 and all of that weird Alex Guerrero crap that seems to work. And like if all of a sudden the Niners roster is just healthy and Brady is like as good as he was this year, that's worth it.
That's true. That's true. But he wouldn't. I don't think Tom Brady's a good fit because I don't think he would actually play the type of football that the rest of the team would be used to playing, right? Because he would bring what you said. He'd bring all that, the Tom Brady-ness with him, right?
I know.
So you would change the dynamic of the team, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like the Patriots, like, you know how like it's like it was the Patriots and he kind of stayed in the back, but as he got older and older and older, he kind of wanted more power. Then the Bucks were just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know, they were just the Tom Brady's, the Tampa Bay Tom Brady's. If he comes to the Niners, like, I don't want it to be like just everyone talking about Tom Brady. Like, I want people to be talking about the Niners.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think he's a good fit because everybody would be talking about the net. So, and the other thing that I'm kind of mad, we went to I'm up in Seattle, and so they had a bar up here that everybody went to, and it was really fun. But the thing that made me mad was like the penalties. Some of them were questionable, I would say questionable, and then some of them were just bonehead plays. And it just felt like we could never get out of our way. And when we wanted to get out of our way, questionable calls would come up. So those are the two things that just have me so mad. I wasn't ready for the season to end either. We had one more game. One more game.
So dirty. Like I have an Airbnb for the Super Bowl, and I'm like, I don't want to go and like Eagles fans and like Chiefs fans and no.
Man, that was rough. Rough. But one other thing I want to say. I have two screens up here, so sorry. One thing I want to thank you guys for the all the content you did this year. It was really, really good, really fun. It was really fun to look. Especially, I love that the interview Larry did was yesterday, day before yesterday with Steve. That was my childhood quarterback. I love that guy. So that was awesome. So
I know that was like one of those where it was like, all right, you know, I'm not even going to try and ask Larry to get in on that one because it's like you got to establish the credibility with Steve.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. And I also like all the interviews you got. It's actually kind of funny. After you guys start doing all those interviews with the players, all the other people I've noticed online on YouTube started doing it. So good job leading the way on that one. That was pretty cool.
It's been completely hijacked. Like because originally we were supposed to do a podcast for the Niners. And it's just like we were supposed to be getting all these interviews and then we weren't getting any help. And so we were just like, I guess we just go in the locker room and just start interviewing people as if they're like, you know what I mean? And then that's what kind of started happening. And then they sound pretty good. And the guys are super comfortable. I walk in there wearing Crocs and like sweatpants and just don't give like, it's but yeah, that's gonna be really sad, man. It was that's the one thing I will say I'll defend Shanahan to the death is that this is my first year in a locker room and everybody's always said, man, you know, usually there's a lot of guys that are good guys, but there's also a lot of like kind of dicks and crappy guys that'll treat you shitty. And honestly, dude, everybody was super nice. Even Kinlaw was awesome, super friendly, super affable, showed a lot of respect. Obviously Debo and like kind of those guys that you just don't bother with they have too much on their plate. Like, you can't really harass them, you know.
Well,
that's all I had to say. I just wanted to say thank you for that and get that the quarterback thing. I still don't like it. Still don't like that we go through quarterback.
Here's a tweet that was put out about an hour ago by the great Jordan Elliott, who's been on this channel before. Listen to what he says. He's been on this channel quite a bit. Things are lining up for Tom Brady to San Francisco being a very realistic outcome. If Purdy has significant UCL damage and the timetable for Trey Lance's recovery isn't clear, it makes tons of sense. Brady would step into a roster that is ready to win now and would likely be the NFC favorite.
That's just
I'm telling you, I
can
can
take a pay cut.
Yeah, I do. I think what does he need the money? He doesn't even need he could sign for league minimum if he wanted to, but
about the FTX and the divorce. I guess the divorce he might have came out on top in the divorce, actually.
But he's probably because he was loaded too. So I'm thinking he signs, if he comes to the Niners, cap friendly deal, maybe 15 to 20 million. I mean, that's what Garoppolo was making this year. So,
but does that put a fork in Trey? Does that mean that Trey's done? And at that point,
no, I don't think so. I think it's a 1 year thing.
He's gonna get injured.
I mean, I think Trey. I mean, what better opportunity to learn from than the GOAT? I mean, and get some development in time, and then I would think that they might even have some set plays run for Trey, like that he might be able to come in if that's the case. If I don't know.
So you think that Tom Brady would do Shanahan's 2 quarterback set that he talked about, was it last year or the year before?
Yeah. I swear that I'm on that island. That is going to be a thing at some point, I think.
I think so too.
Just because look at all the quarterbacks coming out of college. Like, where are it's all these guys like Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, and it's at some point you just have to adapt to the guys that are coming out of the draft. And I don't know,
that's true.
Could be sick. The quarterbacks thing makes me think of guys that like break their phone all the time. Like, especially like when I was in like college, like there'd be people who always would break their phone. It's like, reasonably, you get like maybe half a broken phone every year. So like maybe you break it one every 2 years. Shanahan's like the guy who somehow goes through 4 phones in 1 year.
But how motivated do you think, Ryan? I mean, if Brady came here, I think he would feel like, what is he going to be, 46? Something like,
yeah.
I think he would probably emotionally and mentally start feeling like he was 35 again, and he's in such great shape. I mean, what a great way to close out your career, to be close to your parents who are getting up there in years. You grew up in San Mateo, your childhood team, you've always wanted to play for them, and you're probably got 1 year left in you. Probably that's about all he's got. And to come into a team that is absolutely loaded with guys, with playmakers.
And it's not a roster he likes.
Yeah. And he would be the instant leader. And, he would be so jacked up. He's 1 year removed from the mess of his life that this year, I believe, played a part in, his kind of having an off year, plus all the things that went wrong in Tampa. Factor that in with just the stuff that went on in his personal life. I think it makes a lot of sense if Purdy's not able to come back and be 100% in training camp.
Wow. I'm a 49er fan first, and so I would love the quest for 6, right? We're trying to get that 6th Lombardi. So
and wouldn't it be like, I mean, I've said that there's no reason Brady ever comes to the Niners if they win it all this year, because, he's not coming. If Brady comes, he's coming as
Oh no,
kind of the
it
savior.
couldn't have worked out more perfectly for Brady, because it's like if Purdy played super well today and Shanahan made a bunch of blunders or the defense failed or whatever, then all of a sudden Brady, you can't go there. But this is just the perfect opportunity.
I'm hoping Brock is 100% and he comes back. I mean, I love Brock Purdy as a player and as a young man. He's just a really great.
What does RTP mean?
Run the R what?
RTP. He says Brady would get RTP flags. Oh, roughing the passer. Yes, I agree. Brady would bring flags. We would get all of the flags. That would be pretty sick.
But you know what? The Niners would be if Brock's not, because like I said, I love Brock as a player and as a person, but if he's not well enough to come back, this is a business, and they're in the business of wanting to win a Super Bowl title. I don't think they're going to just hand it over to Trey without any competition. Okay. So Brady comes in, obviously Brady's the guy. But if for some reason Brady doesn't sign with, and Brock's out, I mean, are you going to have a Jimmy Trey controversy again? Are they going to bring Jimmy back again?
Oh, no,
the guy
Jimmy's gone.
I mean, we've said Jimmy's gone for the last couple years, and is he going to resurrect himself again and come back? And I mean, that would be crazy. I don't think they want that. If Brady comes back, it's clear cut. It's his job. I mean, if Brady signs, it's clear cut. Brady's coming to be the starter, and Trey's the backup. Unless Brock is, hey, he's going to be ready mid-season type thing, but. I mean, all we can do is hope and pray that Brock is okay. But if he, for some reason, if that's
bring in Brady and Rodgers and have them duke it
out.
out.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? Brady and Rodgers duke it out.
Do you think if Tom Brady gets signed, other people will come just to play with him?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully it's not as like minions, but like maybe Julian Edelman comes out of retirement.
Gronk for the second tight end.
I mean, keep him in the garage all year, roll him out in the playoffs. I mean, the guy's the same age as Travis Kelce. People forget.
He said he did miss out when he was watching the game day. He says he kind of missed not being out there. That would be cool. Kind of like he'd be like the Iguodala of the Warriors, Gronk.
You know what I would love is I would just love to see Tom Brady's interactions with Grant Cohn. That would be all time.
He would I think he would just roll his eyes, because I've seen him. That Boston media is pretty tight on those guys.
Yeah,
so
that's true. They're tough.
They're tough. So they could handle him. He could handle him.
I think everyone.
I mean, imagine though that Brady. It would be the most offensive weapons. If you have a CMC and Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and he would have so many weapons.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey is basically James White on steroids. Right. I think that's partially why they didn't do so well this year, is because he didn't have like that pass catching back. He just had a big fat Fournette.
I would just
Gronk.
Yeah. I mean, this will be something it's going to really heat up that talk of Brady if we find out that Brock is after this week. We'll know early this week what's Brock's future looks like, and if he's out for a significant time to miss even part of next year, they're gonna go. It just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. He's a free agent. They don't have to do anything but sign him, and
So if he doesn't come and Brock's still injured, what do you think we do then?
I guess Trey.
I mean, there's Trey. I'm okay with giving Trey a shot, but I do think that they're going to want a very established backup or potential starter, whether it's someone like Jimmy or I'm trying to think.
Matt Ryan?
No.
Oh, he's cooked.
Matt Ryan is cooked.
Yeah, who is like the rando veteran that? Because honestly, think about this, if you were a veteran quarterback that just like isn't going to get run, like if you were Carson Wentz, I'd be like, I'll go play in San Francisco for $10, just because you're probably going to get an opportunity and you'll probably look pretty good.
Yeah, Wentz would be a possibility, actually.
I'd rather,
but I don't know. I mean, what's going on with Kirk Cousins? Still signed, right?
I don't want Kirk. Kirk don't F around too. He wants his money.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's another QB that is. I mean, Lamar is going to get his money, and I don't think Lamar fits Kyle's system really.
No, I mean, he'd have to just like build it around him. I just don't think. Also, the fact that he's like been a little injury prone.
Yeah.
I know the guys up in Seattle, they're all focused on Lamar. Everyone, that's what you hear on the radio, signing with the Seahawks. Yeah. And so having that guy in the division makes the division a lot harder. So
yeah, I feel like Sean Payton's just going to go back to the Saints also.
You think so?
Yeah. Or I mean, not say, sorry, I meant broadcast. I just don't think.
Oh, you don't think so? Oh,
either that or Denver, I guess, just because they have the money. We're going to get an update on Purdy's prognosis tomorrow.
Tomorrow or Tuesday, probably Tuesday. I'm guessing they'll run the MRI tomorrow. They probably won't give any results till Tuesday.
Carr wanted to sign real cheap. Rodgers already said that he would restructure his deal.
Yeah. I mean, that would be.
But you would have to trade something for him.
Yeah, what would you trade for him?
You're going to have to give up probably for something like that. You're going to have to. I wonder if they'd be interested in Trey plus a couple of ones.
I mean, realistically, you'll probably get like it'd be like maybe a future 1 plus, a 2, and then throw in a bunch of crappy later round picks just to make it look better.
Got all those 3s.
Yeah.
I'm looking here at just the quarterback list, and it's not exciting at all.
I mean, Brady is Rodgers is expensive. Brady is a free agent.
Right. Yeah, Brady's a free agent. So, I'm just looking here at the.
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would be a perfect backup.
I mean, you could look at a guy like. What's his name? The guy for the I'm drawing a blank now.
Tyler Huntley?
No, Dalton. Andy Dalton is a guy that kind of.
Oh God!
I was thinking that same person actually.
Yeah,
but I don't want to.
Definition of average.
I know it's exactly. It's kind of like the beginning of the 49 Brian Hoyer. Of Shanahan's tenure was the Niners quarterback.
Thank you. Free agents: Aziz, Brendel, Brunskill, Dwelly, Ebukam, Flanagan, Foles, Jimmy Gibson, and Kevin Givens, and I believe also Jimmy Ward.
All right, top 3 on that list for me. What I'm looking at right here is Aziz and Gibson. Givens is a restricted free agent. That's good. So they have a shot at matching. I
know Jimmy Ward's on that list too.
Oh, yeah. And Ebukam would be try and keep Ebukam and Aziz and Gibson. Those are 3.
It just depends on like how much money these guys are going to get on the open market. I think for these edge guys, the thing that sucks is like, Arden Key leaves and he's now the second best defensive player on a playoff team in Jacksonville. And I think people are going to look to that and be like, crap, let's pluck some of these guys. And they do have a factory. I mean, Drake Jackson's probably going to be awesome next year.
They do tend to pull Niner guys. I mean, Niner guys are all over the NFL. And look at all the running backs that are out there. There's Breida and Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, they're a factory.
Yeah, I mean,
Mariota, is he available? He got like surgery or something.
Yeah, I mean, Mariota would be good if you're going to go with a guy like Trey, because then you have a similar, you got a guy that's can run. But you know, Trey is the difference I saw between Trey and Purdy was Trey's more of a runner, a kind of a, you know, guy that can run as a bulldozer type guy. Purdy's not a super great runner. He's more mobile though and quick. Trey doesn't strike me as a guy that's super quick in the pocket where he does have good awareness though. One of the things I noticed with Trey when he was in there is he could sidestep pretty good and then still stay in the pocket and throw. I mean, if Trey gets to his accuracy, if he can get close to 65%, he's going to be dynamite.
With Trey, here's something I was thinking about for a while, all season actually. I wonder if what he is learning from Purdy by watching. He's actually, I have to imagine that Purdy ran the offense close. He did the best job of all the quarterbacks, in my opinion,
right?
For Shanahan, but he does lack in some ability, right? And so I wonder if Trey learned, because Trey has the ability. I don't think anybody argues that part. We just don't know if he can put it all together. And so I just wonder what he learned. That would be a great question in one of your interviews. Is what did he learn from watching Purdy this year?
Yeah, that is a good. I thought
these are the other ones.
Same thing, because watching and seeing how the offense is efficiently run, getting rid of the ball quickly. If there's nothing there, just throw it away. I mean, when you look at the talent of Trey versus Purdy, I mean, the ceiling is very high for Trey. Okay, I mean, it's much higher. I don't know if Purdy is a guy that will, if he's like Brady and continues to get better over the years, or if he's playing kind of at his closer to his ceiling now.
I think he is, but I think there's nothing wrong with that, especially while he's cheap. Like, I think I made the comparison not quite to this level, but like Luka Doncic, when he came in the league because he played in the Euros, he was so, you know, he was close to what he is now when he first came in the league, and it was crazy. Right. But it's not like he's gotten that much better. He's gotten a little more crafty. He's gotten a little more used to the league and probably a little more mature. But he was awesome when he came in the league. He's awesome now. Purdy had all these starts at Iowa State. And
I think the Niners, when they drafted Trey, it was with the idea of like, oh wow, he could be Mahomes or Josh Allen. Yeah, he could be that bruising guy that, you know, beats you with his legs and his strong arm and can throw on the run and can throw the deep ball just with a flick of his wrist. I mean, that's what they were envisioning, and he still could be that, you know.
See, I wonder though, because Allen. Here's a question: do you think Allen could function at the high level he does for the Bills, for the 49ers, under Kyle's structure? Because Kyle's pretty structured.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, it's an interesting.
He gets really mad when you don't do his play. So, and Allen, he's a gunslinger, right? He rolls out and just slings, and that drives Kyle nuts. So I just wonder if he could even play at the same level.
Yeah, it's almost like Purdy was like the perfect quarterback for the shit, because he wants to. It's a give and take, because it's like the floor of these quarterbacks in the Shanahan system is so much higher because so much of it is the system and the Shanahan of it all. But then also it kind of caps you a little bit, I guess you'd maybe say.
Yeah, like that Kittle. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. Go ahead.
The Kittle play where structure.
Yeah, that was off structure, but he went through his progressions. Yeah. Kyle couldn't say, "Oh, you should have thrown it to here," because that guy was covered, and then Purdy was able to find Kittle. Right? Yeah, and so that's I think it's what makes Purdy so awesome, is that he can go through the progressions pretty easy, and you can see him doing, you know. And I think that he likes, from what I've heard, he can go explain to Kyle once he comes to the sideline.
Yeah,
explain to him, this is what I was doing, and Kyle's like, okay, and he moves on. But with Trey, from what I remember, he couldn't do that. Even if he was doing it the right way, he couldn't explain what he was doing. And
and it's also a question when I think about it. I mean, who really would be better if they're in Kyle's offense? Would it be Purdy or would it be the dad, Brady? I mean,
I think there's a reason why John Elway, won those Super Bowls within the Shanahan system. I think that the best situation is the guy that.
Oh, his internet cut off.
Oh no.
He'll be back. He'll be back. It just crapped out on him. Yeah, I just don't know. The thing when I look at Brock and his elusiveness, his mobility to be able to extend the play, we saw him kind of running around. I mean, if that rush is coming on Brady, does Brady either recognize it quicker and get rid of the ball or just go down? Because he's not going to scramble that much. That's where Brock, I think, is a little better.
I wonder if you got Brady, you would get what's that, 2017 when Jimmy came, you'd get a better version of that player. Because if you think about it, I remember when Jimmy got those 5 games where he won.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't leave the pocket. He just danced around it. And I remember talking to some friends of mine. I was like, do they not realize that offensive line is horrible? And he didn't. He just danced around. He made the offensive line work. And then he won those games. And I think Brady would be a better version of that, which makes me worried about the offensive line again. But,
right. I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to bring Brady in, you're going to have to spend some money and really beef up that offensive line. And I would think Brady would be willing to take a little bit more of a team-friendly deal with knowing that, hey, look, I'll come here, but you got to get me shore up that right offensive tackle position.
Yeah.
Make that a lockdown guy. As you got Trey on the other, Trey on Williams on the other side.
Trent. Look,
Trent. Yeah, we've been saying Trey so much. When I said it, Trey, that didn't sound right. Trey.
No.
Yeah, Trent. Yeah. So definitely would think if that happens, they would definitely spend the money to shore up the right tackle position.
Yeah. But speaking of that position today, I thought I call him McCrunchy because he drives me nuts. And usually I'm pounding the table and then crunching whatever chips I had in my bag. But he did a really good job today. I have to say he didn't miss anything. I thought he did a really good job. Normally I don't say that. I'm pretty hard on him.
What do we got here from Sal, Ryan?
Sal Jeezy. I can see Brady taking a discount just to come play here. He doesn't care about money since he has $375 coming to him to call Fox games. Just saying, our weapons are enough to entice him. Now, I think that's facts. And before my laptop just died on me, I meant to say, I think that the most ideal fit for the Shanahan system is a somewhat limited quarterback in a way, because then they're forced to play within the system. But probably the best version of that would be a guy like Rodgers, who was a gunslinger and did all of that, but now is entering a phase where he no longer can rely on winning games from his magic. And so now he has all the knowledge of all of that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? But he can fall back into the system, sort of like the way John Elway did with Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, they're, like I say, I would say they are going, if Brock's not 100% and he's not available for next year, I don't know. I would say they're going to either go with somebody who's been a star, whether it be Brady or Rodgers, or he could fall back on Jimmy again, because I don't think he's going to go outside to bring in a quarterback that doesn't really could run the system, that doesn't run it. The one thing about Rodgers, it's a very, very similar offense he's been running. Basically the same offense that Green Bay runs, because it is, Shanahan's offense. So, and Brady's really never run that particular offense, but he would have no problem getting it down quickly. Or Jimmy, I don't think they're going to go out and have a guy, if it's not going to be Trey, it's not going to be one of, a mid guy like they're just not going to make what's the guy, Dalton, or a guy like Dalton, or a Carson Wentz, or a David, not David Carr, Derek Carr. They're not going to have somebody like that, I believe, run it. And I think Carr would be too expensive too. I think Carr could actually run Kyle's system and run it pretty effectively, but I think he would be probably more expensive than even Brady would be.
Hey, Greg, you gotta run. You want one more final thought?
No, that was it. My battery, I'm about to do the same thing that happened to you. My battery's about to die on my laptop.
But you have it unplugged, Rye? Your
Yeah.
laptop? Yeah, I've done that too. Oh,
right.
shoot.
Well, hey, thanks again, guys. You guys are awesome, and keep up the hard work.
Hope you
All
feel
right,
a little
Greg.
better.
See you, man.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. I don't know about you, Dan. I probably want to wrap up pretty soon, unless you have some final.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, it's been a few hours. How long has this stream been going? Almost 4 hours, 3.5 hours.
34.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just
available.
I would say that we're fortunate that the Niners have a lot coming back. There will be changes, and some of the changes will hurt. Some will be better. It's the way it is every off season. I mean, look, we lost Jaworski Tart this last year, and Hufanga stepped up. We may lose McGlinchey, but there'll be others to step in. This is a really, really well-run organization that is going to compete for a Super Bowl title next year. I mean, it's frustrating because we've been to the NFC Championship 3 out of the last 4 seasons. But those of you who, I would say this, that are down on Shanahan, 3 out of 4. I mean, what would you rather have? Would you rather have what the Rams, McVay got a Super Bowl? Yeah, he got it. But they're a team that, in my view, is on the downturn. I don't see them just because they had a bad year coming back. They're strapped financially, and they don't have much depth. So, and then there's other teams that would die to be in the Niners position to be.
Oh my God! If Shanahan hit the open market, I'd say probably every team but like 5 would fire their coach immediately just for the opportunity to have a chance.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's like
Shanahan. I mean, just the fact that they even scored a touchdown with Josh Johnson in there to make it 7-7.
Such a dog. What a freaking animal. That guy's the man.
I mean, just the fact that they were in the game really with a backup quarterback, 14-7. Had he not fumbled that snap, who knows what would happen? What happens if they, even if they didn't score, they would have went into halftime down 14-7 with the ball. And, Kyle would have probably come up with something at halftime to try and punch it in. And the defense could have got, you never know, turnover happens. So the fact that they were in this game is a testament to what Shanahan did. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like having a guy they basically was able to land the plane, get it down with a rookie, didn't blow up with a rookie, pilot, a guy had never flown before. I mean, I know Josh Johnson's played before.
Report.
We got
Fear the Phantom says, report says if Purdy avoided a UCL rupture, his injury should only take 6 weeks to heal.
Well, yeah, hopefully that's the case. We're not going to know, but the symptoms he's got are not positive. He has no feeling in his, that's a nerve. There's some nerve damage. If it's that ulnar nerve or however you say that, that's not good at all. The fact that he couldn't even, feel his hand is really bad. But right, I mean, it was a great season. I mean,
great season. And at the end of the day, this is kind of a crappy thing to say, but like, who would you rather be? Would you rather be a Niners fan and it was kind of over quick, or would you rather be a Bengals fan right now? I think the Bengals would hurt a whole lot more.
Yeah, or even being just
A
take it.
Bills
I mean,
fan,
being a Bills
Cowboys
fan, yeah, Cowboys. Those teams went out, or down here in Arizona. I mean, you don't even have a chance at the playoffs. You're year after year, you're awful, and every once in a while you have a decent year and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Niners. I mean, when the Niners have made the playoffs under Kyle Shanahan, they have gone to the NFC Championship of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. 2 games they've won every time.
Yeah.
And they've lost the eventual Super Bowl champion.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something to, and one of these days he's going to punch it in. And when he does, he's going to be the new Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's it. It's really is that simple. I mean, if that Bengals game was so tight, if that didn't go right, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Andy Reid. All right, now you've only got 1 Super Bowl with Mahomes. Like,
now he's going to his 3rd one with Mahomes.
Sirianni wins. Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was a great season. I do think there's a lot to look forward to. As long as Brock's healthy, I'm gonna be.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope Brock is healthy, man. That would really be a bummer story. I felt so bad for him because I thought, dang, he's like 2 games away from having this all-time incredible movie made about him, and coming back to Arizona, his home state. It would have just been unbelievable.
It felt like Bad News Bears. And David Hasselhoff says, I'd rather have Burrow than anything the Niners have. What are you talking about? Okay, Burrow's been to 1 Super Bowl. He lost. Burrow's been to 2 conference championships now. I mean, the Niners have been to 3 out of 4. Obviously, I love Burrow too. He's like,
I love Burrow. Yeah.
Montana. He's freaking awesome. I was rooting for him today. But I mean, Josh Allen, all of these teams with these crazy quarterbacks, and what do they really have to show for it? So,
I mean, even the great Aaron Rodgers. Look what's happened. I mean, Rodgers has been to the Super Bowl in 2010 and never gotten back. It's not easy.
No,
it's hard to get a Super Bowl. I mean, you look at the Niners' last Super Bowl was 28 years ago, 1994 season. So, and the Cowboys was the 1995 season. Buffalo's never won a Super Bowl.
I've never even seen a Niners Super Bowl in my lifetime, but I feel like there's a lot of like.
Well, you saw the 2012 one, right?
Well, I mean, I've never seen a
title
win. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, it's winning a championship in sports is very, very difficult. I mean, the fact that if you win one every 25 years, you're pretty fortunate.
Yeah. I mean, the Eagles just won their first Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, 2018, their first one. I mean, look at the you can go down. I mean, the Bengals are 0-2, 0-3 in Super Bowls. The Bills 0-4, the Vikings 0-4. Cardinals have been to 1, right? Rams have won their second. First one was with St. Louis, but they've only been to, I think, 4. 49ers have been to 6. The killer is how many today was either the 17th or 18th NFC title game for the Niners. I think it was 18. And if you look at it, if this was their 18th, they're 6-12 now.
That's scary. I don't like that.
I mean, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, but shoot, imagine if they were just 9-9. They'd be like up there with the Patriots, Super Bowls.
Oh, I know.
So the Niners.
Oh, yeah. Corey Cooper's completely right. The prognostications about the 49ers regression is crazy. 49ers will be back this upcoming season and will field a fantastic team with another chance to go all the way. I've got, obviously I'm not going to pulll up receipts, but we've been doing these live streams all year. Week 1 through 6, it was everybody in the chat was attacking us or specifically me and Dan for saying don't worry, this Niners team's going to figure it out. I still think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, or at least the NFC Championship game. They're going to figure it out. They're going to win the division. They're going to get on a roll. Doesn't matter, Jimmy, Brock, whatever. And they figured it out. And it just seems like people just keep shifting expectations. And it's like, goes from, oh, they're not even going to make the playoffs, fire Shanahan, to then, now all of a sudden it's like, yes, it sucks because it was a Disney movie. And then it just.
Yeah, the Niners are, someone corrected me in the chat. That's right. They've been to 7 because they won 5. They won their first 5. They were 5-0, and then they lost in 2012 and 2019. So
and 13.
Or no, they just went. Well, it was a 13 year, but it was a 2012 season.
The year they went to the Super Bowl versus the Ravens, and then the year
but that was the 2012 season, wasn't it?
Okay. Yeah. And then they played the Seahawks the year after, and
they lost. Yeah, that was the Crabtree Sherman incident in the end zone. But yeah, the Niners have actually been to 7, so they're 5-2 in the Super Bowl and 7-11 in NFC conference championships. But still, I mean, probably the ones that hurt the most losing to was the one to Seattle and the one to the Giants in 12.
And they all hurt so bad.
I know. The Giants won, and the 2 Giants ones, the one in 1990 when they were going to go for their 3rd in a row for a 3-peat. They were ahead, and Roger Craig fumbled. The Giants recovered, went down, and kicked the game winner. The Niners were ahead 13-12 and driving in field goal range. It was like, oh my goodness, they had that game. That one really hurt. And then the Kyle Williams, 2 or 3 fumble game. They had that one. Niners really, if you just take those 2 against the Giants, I mean, they would been in 9 Super Bowls, would have won.
Well, the problem is, and then it's every Super Bowl I've seen in my lifetime every time the Niners have gone to the playoffs, really, since I've been a fan. So that's like, basically Nolan, or like, from Nolan on. So like Harbaugh, all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. All of a sudden, I think they're the best team. And then they go to the Super Bowl and they lose. And I still came away thinking they were the best team. Then they played Seattle, and I felt like it was a 50-50. I felt like it was literally a coin flip. And then Seattle went and they beat the absolute shit out of the Broncos. And it was just not even close. And then it was like, God damn it, if we just beat Seattle. And then, of course, the Chiefs Super Bowl, we're beating the hell out of the Chiefs. And then it's just a meltdown. And then Rams last year, Jimmy's a little hurt. Trent Williams is banged up. And, we're just a pick away from going and probably beating the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And then this year, it
is. It's one of those things, as I was saying earlier, to win a championship, you need to be really good, but you also need a lot of luck.
A lot of luck.
You really do. And, so this is why one of the things that I'm not into totally, why I didn't want to talk about who's going to be the next year's quarterback, Brock or Trey, because I says, let's wait till the end of the season. And then it's time to talk about it. Now, we'll be talking about it probably in the next couple of weeks. If we hear what's going on with Brock, then it'll be speculation who it's going to be. And, it may not even be anybody but someone else, that's not on the Niners right now. So, and just because, you sign a guy, I mean, the fact that the Warriors, when they signed Durant, it was like, oh, foregone conclusion, they've got the title. And it was for 2 years. And it would have been a foregone conclusion that they would have beat Toronto if Durant was healthy. And then Clay got hurt. So injuries play a huge part in who, there's a few things. There's injuries, there's some luck. And sadly to say, I hate to say this because I've never been a guy that's blamed officiating, but there is some pretty suspect calls that either are called or not called in situations. And, but that's the way it goes.
Oil hat to the Super Bowl.
Do we have any more super chats before we get out?
We talk about
437 still in the chat, huh?
This needs to go another hour. I just can't. I need to sleep on this and develop some more angles of takes. because at this point I'm just like all I can do is just kind of run through the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can beat this thing down. This is why I'm not it's hard for me to talk about. I'm kind of talking about it all now because all week long it's kind of like I don't get all worked up too much before a game because I figure the game's going to play itself out, and it really rarely happens the way you think it's going to happen. So I save all my kind of talking about a game till after the game. Even though it's fun to talk about what you think is going to happen, it's frustrating because
you know what
it is what it is.
This is how we'll go out. We can play Frank's song and show the doggies. Said, can you play the post game interview with Jimmy Ward? I just don't know like what the rules are with that necessarily. Just because it's not like our interview.
Oh yeah,
I just don't want Larry to get super butthurt at us if like in hour 3 or like 3 hours and 50 minutes we just blew it.
Yeah, I wouldn't run it if it's what national.
I'm gonna Monster Slam.
Monster Slam. It's Warriors time again. Kicks it out to Wiggins. Wiggins drives, goes in for a Monster Slam. Oh no! They're calling an offensive foul. No way. He's going to drive to the hoop again. I will. As we're playing the music, I will say this: quarterback next.
You miss your shot at life. You think there's nothing else for you to do. This ain't a tragedy, son. I know I've seen a few. You're not responsible for somebody else's thrill. Your integrity's intact and you're still trying to climb the hill. I was a lonely man. I never thought it would come true. But sometimes in life, all you have are your dreams and you. That's when you realize that life ain't standing still. And all you can do is bow your head and accept God's will. But it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel. Life is but a thrill. He had no time for small talk. He didn't mince words, just sum the lyrics to the best song he ever heard. All his hopes and dreams had turned to despair. But what he was facing, there was no way to prepare. This came from a man who thought his life was ending. In his mind, it was serious. There was no pretending. He checked the clock on the wall before he said his goodbyes. Emitting tears, he has gone. See back into his eyes. He was old in life. There'll be no encore. He raised his hands to the heavens, put his knees on the floor. Don't have to be a genius to know he'd been blessed. He said he'd pay it forward and always do his best. At that moment, what he's been searching for became clear. He was here to serve those who living in fear. With his newfound enlightenment in the wind at his back, he's prepared to live out his life's final act. He was a rich man now. He had purpose in life. And to capture this feeling, you don't pay a price. Before we set up on his own, he made a pledge to get some wins and live his life against the grain to the bitter end. You miss your shot at life. You think there's nothing else for you to do. This ain't a tragedy, son. I know I've seen a few. You're not responsible for somebody else's thrill. Your integrity's intact and you're still trying to climb the hill. I was a lonely man. I never thought it would come true. But sometimes in life, all you have are your dreams and you. That's when you realize that life ain't standing still. And all you can do is bow your head and accept God's will. But it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel.